All right. Good evening. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of David E. Taylor Full Frontal Exposure 2.0, where everybody's opinion is a lie. And we're going to do a live interview tonight. And honestly, you know what? I'm not even going to waste any time. And I already got our special guest on the phone right now. And I think it's best that we let him introduce himself. And if you want to go ahead and give us a timeline when you were there, things like that. And we'll go from there, man. So go ahead and take it away.
Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. My name is Ware. Um, Many people may have heard my name before if you're familiar with JMMI, David E. Taylor, you know, the whole deposition. My name was one of the names that was thrown around. And, you know, I'm here today uh, to speak to you all, to speak to the staff members that are still in the cult at JMMI Koggc or whatever other name David uses now. And um, what happened with me, how I got connected with the cult was back in 2008. Uh, my now ex-wife, she had uh, not directly introduced me to the ministry, but she had a tape, from a church service that David had done while he had came to her church in the city of Cleveland. That's my hometown. That's where, uh, I was born and raised and wind up relocating to St. Louis, Missouri, where David Taylor was. And I'll get to that. But she had introduced me to this tape, and I heard this young man preaching on this tape, and it caught my ear because uh, just about a year earlier, I had an experience where uh, there was a supernatural being that had appeared into my room. At the time, I thought, you know, uh, it was the Messiah. Uh, it could have been an angel, but I really wasn't sure, and I'm not sure to this day. But I am very positive that the experience happened. And when this experience happened, um, it was a very amazing thing, And so what wound up taking place, it was just like the supernatural experience took place. And here I am, you know, at 21 years old, about to turn 22. It was just like, wow, this is amazing. Maybe the Bible is real type of experience, and so I started, reading the Bible, and like I said, fast forward a year later, um, she had uh, played this tape where this young man was talking about these face-to-face appearances from Jesus and stuff like that, and so like I said, it caught my ear because I just had, some type of experience similar to. And so, you know, like I said, it set me on fire spiritually. And so uh, I decided, we got to go and connect with this man. And I had a dream. And in this dream, it was just like a bunch of different preachers from past times or whatever. And I saw him standing up on top of this building with, like I said, I don't know who it was standing next to him. But at that time, you know, I didn't know what the dream meant. But when I got to St. Louis and connected with David Taylor, I shared it with him. And if you know anything about his character, of course, he's arrogant. He's full of himself, and so he, of course, made that dream to be out about himself being over all these other preachers, and he's the top this, the top that, the biggest this, But it just hit me the other night when I was talking to Alex, and all these years later, it hit me what the dream really meant. Because as you know, I got out of the cult in 2018, and it took these 5 years since being out of the cult, plus going back to 2008 when I originally had this dream. It took all these years for me to know what it really meant, because it took time for me to recognize what a false prophet was. It took me time to find out what a false teacher was in the church and those types of things. And so, um, you know, I realized that all them people that was in this dream with David Taylor were also false prophets in their time too. And so it was David Taylor who was the biggest false prophet out of them all. That's what was being shown to me in the dream. But my lack of understanding back at that time, I believed what David had told me, that he's just the greatest this and the greatest that. And so, we get to St. Louis in 2008, uh, August 2008. I left my hometown, and I was full of zeal. I was excited, ready to do the will of the Father in heaven. And when we got to St. Louis, there was maybe 5 or 6 people who was still from the previous staff before us. And I'll get to some of that later too, but there was a previous staff that had also left the cult when some information that came out that he was trying to hide, and other things like that. And so like I said, there were maybe like 5 or 6 people that were still remaining in 2008 when me and my ex-wife got there. And so and it wasn't just me and my ex-wife, but we also had a daughter. She was about to turn 1 at the time when we had moved to St. Louis. And so, sure enough, like I said, these 5 or 6 staff members were still there. And, you know, me and my ex, we were excited about everything. We're trying to obtain as much information and learn ministry and learn about, these heavenly experiences that David was having, and so that we can have them. How he likes to sell that whole thing. And so what wound up happening was uh, probably about a month and a half, maybe 2 months after we had got there, David's now ex-wife, she had left, and she had pretty much gave him an ultimatum, from David's words, is what he told me, but I never really heard his ex-wife's side of it, so I'm not sure if it's 100% accurate. But from David's words, he said that she gave him an ultimatum that myself and my wife, he had to choose between us being there or her staying in a marriage, because from what he said was that he uh, he had many people over the years come from all over the world, and they relocated just like we were doing from Cleveland. And so uh, I guess from what he was saying was that she was fed up that he was taking people in to do God's will, as he said. But now in hindsight, I understand where she was coming from. I know why she left, you know. But when she left, that put the bulk of everything on me and my ex. And so we were completely new to ministry, new to any type of business administration, all of them types of things. And so he gave us different assignments to do, administratively. Um, and at this time, we didn't have any money. We gave all the money up that we had before we left. Um, we didn't have much. I had a suitcase. My wife had a suitcase, and my baby, she had a suitcase full of her things, and a few other essentials. And we drove down there, and that was all we had. We were believing completely on faith that you know that heaven would would provide for us. And so, and sure enough, once we got there, supernatural things started happening for us before we even met David. And so, um, so I know he likes to try to give credit or take credit for those types of things. I took this family in and, they blah, blah, blah. He ain't do much for us. You know, yeah, we had a roof over our head, but I'll tell you this, we were staying with him in a small apartment. And while we were staying in a small apartment, I personally didn't care. My wife didn't care. We thought this was part of the process, as he would call it, that we thought the Father was taking us through. And so, we took it on the chin and was happy to do it. And so that's one way that he presents things to you. He presents it like the the junk that he's putting you through and shaming you with. He makes it seem like it's a glorious thing, like you're paying a price, and because you don't want to offend, you know, the Most High about the process, you just take it on the chin and you don't question anything. And so, you know, a lot of people I know ask, well, how could you believe this stuff for so long? You couldn't just look at it and see, and but a lot of those people come from many different angles. Some of those people don't believe in the Bible. So you can't understand my hunger and my desire. You can't understand my faith, why I will believe. It's not that I was believing David, it's that I believed at that time, just like anybody who goes to church on a Sunday and they have a pastor, that's what I thought David was. Something simple as that, except he knew a little bit more about the supernatural. And so that was what I was after, the supernatural things with the Most High, you know. And as you get there, you begin, you don't recognize the idolatry that is set that is set up in that cult. You don't recognize it right away. If you have a desire to really want to learn more things, and the supernatural things that David talks about is up your avenue, because there's a lot of people who believe the Bible but don't believe the things that David teaches. Like they don't, some people just don't believe in the supernatural in our day and age at all. And so, but there are people who do. And once you get there, you know, from the very beginning, you're love bound. Okay. They love on you. They, basically tell you you're the best thing since sliced bread. So glad to have you. And, you know, this is, in the cult's words, this is God's will for your life, and you just like, oh man, this is awesome. And then you got all these people saying apostle this, apostle that. Every other word out their mouth is apostle this, apostle that, and so you're thinking like, man, this is real deal. And then you have, like myself at that time, and throughout the majority of the time I was there, I didn't see the majority of the things that he talks about. I did not see them. Uh, I just regurgitated what he spoke about. And while I was regurgitating those things, that spreads like wildfire, word of mouth. Apostle, he people get out of wheelchairs in the services. I've never seen one person get out of a wheelchair in one service. I was there from 2008 to 2018. I've seen people get off of crutches. I've seen people get healed from back aches and headaches and things like that. However, that can happen in your living room. That can happen anywhere that you believe, And so, the overly dramatic, as he likes to say, people untwisting out of wheelchairs, and uh, the deaf hearing and the blind seeing. I ain't seen none of that. I have not seen none of that. And if I'm lying, strike me dead right now. I stand on what I'm talking about. And like David like to throw around, I stand on pain of death. If Jesus hasn't appeared and said this, yeah, David, I stand on the pain of death. And I say you a fraud. That's what you are, man. You a fraud. You ain't who you say you are. You ain't who you say you are, man. Just like when we spoke not too long ago. I'm gonna get to that phone call too. He called me, you know, with my ex-wife on the phone, like a coward. you know, he she texted me saying that she had needed to speak about the children, and of course I'm gonna take that call. I took the call, and he gets on there on three-way, but like I said, I'll get to that. But I just threw that out there to let you know he just a snake, man. He a snake. He couldn't call me head up or at least let her know, hey, David wants to talk to you. But I just threw that out there, like I said, just to give you the type of understanding of who and what type of person we dealing with. He a 50-year-old man doing sneak stuff like that, a weirdo. But you know, like I said, we had got to St. Louis and we wanted to soak up all the information. But when his ex-wife left, she didn't only leave, but another woman who was connected uh, to the cult at that time, she also left. And while these people left immediately, you know, we basically started getting indoctrinated. Oh, she's a devil. Satan, he entered into her heart, you know. Uh, and like I said earlier, I don't know if it was true or not, where she gave him an ultimatum about me and my wife being there or her. But like I said, that's what he told us. And, even though I didn't hold anything against her, subconsciously, that's what he put in our minds, that this woman pretty much hate us. We just want to do the will of the Father. But here we are, being demonized by this woman who don't even know us. And so he began putting that stuff in our minds immediately. Uh, he started telling us how uh, this woman is going to get, and now we talking about the children, the mother of his children, his ex-wife. He was telling us how she's going to get cancer and she's going to die and blah 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 blah, and all of these things, man. And at that time, I'm like, wow, she better stop putting her mouth on the man of God, because this stuff might really happen, and then there was times, like I said, we didn't even know this woman, but he texted us her number and told us to call her and to tell her she better repent and all of this other stuff. And following blindly, we did it, like some dummies, and at that time I thought I was, doing the right thing. I thought I was exposing Satan and, you know, um, trying to help her out because she was in the wrong for, leaving David and, all these other things of grandeur that he put into our minds. And so, um, he, like I said, when people don't agree with him, all of a sudden they're a devil. All of a sudden, Satan sent them. All of a sudden they go into hell. All of these stupid things that he says, you know. But in reality, the majority of the things that he says about people, it's really him. It's really him projecting, and he uses these dreams, these so-called dreams, these so-called visions that he has, these so-called appearances that he has. He uses those as a tool of manipulation. You know, um, he's he's very cunning, just like Satan, his father. He's very cunning like that. And so, you know, he does stupid things, but David isn't stupid. He's very smart, but the wisdom he uses is perverted, and not just sexually perverted, but just perverted from, the proper use. He likes to study. He studies a whole lot, but he uses a lot of the information as a tool against people, whether it be uh, spiritual, physical, emotional. You know, one of the worst things that you can do with David is tell him your business because he loves to get information because he has a well enough understanding of spiritual matters and psychological matters that he knows how to manipulate things without you knowing he's manipulating it. You know, he likes to refer to himself as a Jedi, because he uh, he likes to blind the minds of the people, and he gets a kick out of it. Um, for a long time, he thought he was getting over on me, but I played stupid. I played stupid. There was many times he did get over on me. He did trick me with certain things, and not like big things, like, man, I'm selling my soul, but just like, little trickster things, subtle things that you may not pick up on, and then you realize, oh man, I got it, and you can laugh about it. But he uses those little things, and then he tests it and he pushes it to see how much he really can get over on you with. And so there's not, you know, a lot of people who can really speak on certain things concerning David because he don't allow a lot of people around him. And, right now I want to take my hat off to everybody who's gotten out of this cult, and you've spoken out even when I was still there. uh, I may have rebuked you and I may have come against you because you left the cult and I was still believing a lie. All the people who got out, and you've spoken out on different platforms, you tried to use your own platform. I applaud you all. And those of you who, like I said, if I came against you when you left the ministry or that cult, my mistake. When you left that cult, I apologize from the bottom of my heart. As you know, being a part of the cult, you know how there's a lot of mind manipulation and brainwashing, and you don't really see it until you come from out of there. And so I just want to ask that you can find it in your heart to forgive me if I've said anything out of pocket to you, um, following in the footsteps of David instead of following in the footsteps of the Most High. I apologize if I hurt you, if I caused any damage to you. I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. And I pray that you get the strength to fully recover from everything that you went through, and know that all things are working together for your good. Continue to love the Most High and watch it all work out for you. That's His promise from above. And and as things begin to progress, um, maybe within that next year or so, after his ex-wife had left, uh, she started her own ministry. And so he was out of town, uh, in some other city at the time, but I was still in St. Louis. And so his ex-wife, like I said, she had just started her own ministry, and so he sent me to her service. She was doing like maybe a 1 or 2 day crusade type thing, and so I went there and I sat there, and you know I'm sure that um, in hindsight, I'm sure she knew why I was there, of course. But and I want to say to you also, I won't say nobody's names except for like David and his cohort Michelle, but to the ex-wife, I apologize to you too for the things that I said to you out of pocket, out of line, just following the things that David was telling me to do. And I heard the interviews that you did online, and I want to say to you, ma'am, that uh, it was very powerful, the things you were saying, and it helped. The Most High used that to help set me free over these years that I've been gone. And so I just want to say thank you. And I greatly appreciate those interviews you did, because I can't say or speak on the things that happened before I was even there. But I can say this: it all lined up with the things I saw happen after you were gone too. And so thank you again, ma'am, and praying for you, praying for you. Um, and so, like I said, I went to the service that she was doing, and she began speaking about some of the things that David did in their marriage. And um, she spoke about the cheating, with other women. And she also spoke about him putting his hands on her. And, I shared those things with him that she said during the service. And the first thing out of his mouth to me was, "I never put my hands on her. I've never cheated on her. I mean, I've flirted before, but I've never cheated." He said that to me. And, it's like, okay, either way, it wasn't a deal breaker for me, being there, remaining there, because everybody's made some types of mistakes. Some made the same mistakes, others made different mistakes than other people. But at the end of the day, none of us is spotless and blameless, of our own righteousness. So, I really didn't, think twice about it. But I did believe his word, that, the information that he volunteered to me, you know, where he said, "I've never put my hands on her. I've never cheated on her." Fine. Now that's what I believe about you. And so, you know, come to find out that was a lie. Uh, you know, he did like putting his hands on her, you know, smacking her upside the head, that type of thing. Uh, and I believe that, even though I never witnessed it myself. But the way she described the physical abuse that she suffered from him, I've seen him do to other people with my own eyes. Um, and a lot of people would like to know, um, well, how come if he's putting his hands on people, nobody's fighting back? How come, uh, you know, if these things are happening, y'all don't jump them, or that type of thing? Well, from a physical standpoint, David is a short, fat, sloppy, overweight punk, right? He don't put fear in nobody physically. But that's where the mind control comes in at. When once you're deceived into believing these dreams and these visions that uh, the so-called Jesus, the so-called God, that he's having these so-called appearances from, when you start believing that he has all this supernatural power and all this divine authority has been granted to him, once you believe that lie, what can you do until you no longer believe it, right? You believe that this power and this authority that he speaks of, that he talks about receiving face to face. And it's not just him saying it, because if he was just saying things out of thin air, that's easy to dismiss. People won't follow that, including myself. But he uses scripture, and he uses scripture as a foundation for his lies. And so you now have to decide, you know, is this in the Bible true or not? And you believe the Bible, so all right, if it's in the Bible, we know that it can happen. But here's the light bulb. This is where the light bulb goes off at, right here. Yes, it can happen, but it ain't happening with David. He ain't got it. He ain't got it like that. I guarantee you he ain't got it like that. I know he ain't got it like that. And to my ex-wife, just like I told you on the phone that one night, on the pain of death, I can tell you, David ain't got it like that. I can lose my life right now if I'm lying. But I'm not. You just don't want to hear it. And I'm going to tell you how strong this brainwashing and this mind manipulation is, which is really witchcraft. David, you warlock, you devil. And your rebuttal, whatever you got to say, you better tread lightly, David. You better tread lightly, because every curse that you speak gonna come back on you, boy. Yeah, I called you a boy with your old childish self. Childish. The more I've been away from him, the more I've had time to study for myself and to show myself approved unto the Most High. I see David as an immature punk, a lying wonder. That's what he is. You can even see the transformation in his face. He think he beautiful. You ain't. You ain't beautiful, physically or spiritually. You are hideous. You are a heathen. And boy, if you don't repent, you gonna burn too. You gonna burn. Not my words, but the Messiah's. And I didn't need a face-to-face visitation to know that. You liar. But like I was saying, the mind control and the manipulation is so strong, man. I was talking to my ex-wife, and you know, she had a problem with the things that I was telling her. She had a problem that I'm calling him David. You know, that's the type of idolatry they got with this guy. You know, like Michelle, you know, that them sound clips you be playing. Don't call him David. You know, like he's some type of deity. You a bum. You are trash, David. You don't even deserve that name. You ain't the Most High's beloved. You are trash. The way you get used, you're Satan's beloved. That's your father. And yeah, I said it. You chump. But my ex-wife had the audacity to tell me that she told my children, who are still there, which I'm going to get soon, everything is already worked out. Praise the Father. Praise the Most High. He worked that out for me. He worked that out for my children. But she told me that she's been telling my children that they are to honor David more than they honor me, and I'm their father. Show me that scripture. Show me that scripture. Y'all say it ain't one, I know. But guess what? David twists scriptures to make you believe that. He twists scriptures to make you believe that his authority is higher than the authority of a husband's with his wife and their household. He make you believe that his authority is higher than the authority of a father over their children, he a clown. He a clown. But that's what she told me, man. And I said, wait a second. I said, wait a second, Miss Ex-Wife. You mean to tell me that you're telling my children that they to honor David over me and him and Michelle, which is his uh one of his concubines. That's what she is. She's a concubine. She's the lead concubine. But we'll get into those in a little bit too. But yeah, that's what she told me. That they are to honor him over me because she said, this is what she told me. She said, Cliff, is Jesus appearing to you face to face? I said, no, he ain't. And he ain't appearing to David either. And, she was, I don't want to be on this phone. And anytime I talk about that chump, she just gets offended. Her demons manifest through her. And she just hangs up. She don't want to hear no more. And one thing that she can't never say is that I've mistreated her. Now, I wasn't perfect in our marriage. I wasn't perfect at all. I've done things that I'm not proud of. But guess what? I ain't tripping on what nobody think about it because I've repented before the Most High. I've repented to her when she was still my wife. She knew what was going on. She knew certain things, just like I knew certain things about her. But David in the equation, he likes to get information. And as a somebody that you look to as a spiritual leader, as he likes to say, a spiritual father, somebody who's been doing what you're trying to do, who's been doing it longer, you look to them and you go to them. And especially, when you've fallen into sin and had some type of weaknesses and things like that, you want to go to somebody who you believe is stronger than you in those areas. And so that's of course what we did. Went to David about certain things, and other things I didn't say. And he wound up finding out, through word of mouth or whatever. And I didn't tell him everything because I saw how he was with other people who were on the staff before me, people I've never met, even to this day. He told me so much information about these people, which, now knowing David's character, most of it was probably lies. But he was telling me things about them that wasn't my business, and I didn't even care to know. But that's what he does. He tries to make you look really bad, and that's why he likes to gather information. He makes it seem like he's a loving spiritual father, and he's gathering information so he can give you wisdom on how to get out of this situation or how to overcome this weakness, whatever. But in reality, he's retaining that information to use against you one day. He's the accuser of the brethren for the people who read the Bible. And we know that's Satan. That's who David is. He always talk about his persecutors. He always talk about people lying on him and all these other things. But that's what he do. That's what he do. He lie on people all the time. He lie to cover himself all the time. He encourages other people to lie for him and cover for him all the time. And, this whole street persona that he be talking about, stop it. Stop it. Just stop, David. You lying sack of crap. Nobody believes you, man. Nobody believes you. Absolutely nobody believes this whole I was a gangster. I was in the streets, in shootouts, smoking dope. Man, you sound stupid, like an idiot. Because that's what you are, an idiot. And you still 50 years old, lying about talking about you was in a gang, a leader of 2 gangs, matter of fact. Which gangs, David? Tell the people what you told us behind closed doors, you fraud. Talking about he was the leader of the folks, you liar. And the leader of guess what other gang? The Vice Lords. How is that when they rivals? And even if you was, you a fraud. You switch sides. You phony. You fake. You ain't in nothing that has to do with loyalty, unless it's to you. You ain't never been in no shootouts. You ain't never even shot no gun. How was you in shootouts, man? What years? I would love to know. And not just me. We would all love to know. Even the people that's staring at you right now, you punk. When? When was you the leader of a gang? When did you, as you say in quotes, pushing kilos of cocaine? You said you got saved after an appearance from Jesus in 1989 at the age of 17. 17. And you said you never looked back since then. How many pounds is in a kilo, David? Don't ask Google, you fraud. You fraud. Tell us this, man. When was you the leader of them gangs? When you was in the marching band. So we know every Friday night you had on that silly suit that you wear in them crusades. Them stupid suits that you wear. You ain't no general. Man, you ain't no general, dude, at all. A general of what? Them 60 people who believe you? And the people online who ain't figured you out yet? That's the only general you are of. You ain't special. You ain't set apart. You ain't nobody, for real, man. You ain't nobody. You a law to yourself. Can't nobody correct you because you think you know everything. But when you have time to gangbang, when you have time for shootouts, man, I'm getting back to that because you say it all the time. Oh, my detractors are saying I'm getting back to my gangster ways. What gangster ways, man? When he say that, he talking about he talking about a 75-year-old pastor up in Detroit. A 75-year-old Caucasian pastor who said that because he believed what David had told him. But this man ain't, and that's because David was trying to get hard towards him. So he felt some type of way. And at 75 years old, I might be a little bit afraid too if a younger man is coming at me strong like that. But that's neither here nor there, right, David? Right, staff? Just the tough guy general. Yeah. When you do these things, man, where's your former members of this gang, of these gangs? Where the former members at, man? Who can vouch for anything that you ever spoke about beforehand that you always putting out there? And I don't want to hear no, oh, that's the past life. I don't say those things to glorify it. Yes, you do, because you're lying about it. Those of us who really lived it, it ain't no glory. Ain't no glory in that. Ain't no glory in that. And he always tried to get information. He always tried to get information from me about things that I may have done in the streets. And because I really was in the streets at a certain point in my life, I already knew he was a snake, not necessarily as far as the things that he was preaching, because I was still believing those, the face-to-face appearances stuff. But I knew he was a snake because he was lying about this stuff to me, and I could see straight through it. But he didn't know that because I just said, yes, okay, oh, all right. But in my mind, I knew he was lying. And so I'm thinking to myself, why is this guy lying about selling drugs and being in shootouts and being a gangster? Why? If Jesus is appearing to him. But, I still didn't judge it because I said, all right, well, that's not my thing to judge, But I never let that go from the back of my mind. And like I said, David, nobody believes you, man. And I'm sure you probably listening right now, telling whoever is around you how you'll kick my butt, right? Right? I can hear you. Your pride won't even let you just be quiet and listen. I know you running that fat mouth. But I'll put it out there like this, David. I'll step all over you, boy, physically. Not only spiritually, but physically. And yeah, you're deserving of it. And don't give me that, oh, this isn't the Christian way. And I don't want to hear none of that. As much as you run your mouth on that TV, in that pulpit every day, you're always threatening somebody. And for the tough guys who might be on the staff who saying, man, I'll do this to Cliff. Listen, I ain't got no art against none of y'all. Nobody on that staff do I have an art against. None of my brothers or none of my sisters. None of them. So I understand that you might feel a battery in your back because I'm saying these things about David. But we all men. That's why I'm talking to David like a man. If you really Moses and you really who you say you are, I shouldn't be able to do anything to you. And we don't have to go bare knuckles. We can get in the boxing ring and put gloves on. But I'll show you, staff. I'll show y'all. The man that y'all allowing to hit on y'all is soft. I highly doubt if he'll fight me. I highly doubt it. But I hope he do. David, I hope you do. Because with all that supernatural power and glory you speak about, I shouldn't be able to do nothing with you, man. And don't let him tell y'all, he'd rather walk in love instead of box me. Because I'm going to tell you why that's a lie. If it were true, not only would he not want to fight me, but he would no longer put hands on y'all. But it ain't true. Because as long as y'all there, under his delusion, he going to continue to put hands on y'all. As long as you believe that he's this Moses and he got all this supernatural power that he's lying about, he gonna continue to put hands on y'all because y'all honor and y'all respect him and y'all revere him. All that tough talking he do behind closed doors, you know the talk I'm talking about. The stuff that he won't even say in the pulpit. Calling y'all the N-word. I won't say it on here because I won't get this channel shut down. But calling y'all the N-word, calling y'all all type of different things. No matter what race it is, he called them that. And they tuck their tails. And I ain't saying this to shame y'all. I love y'all. I was right there with y'all. Y'all know it. I ain't got nothing to gain from this, man. I ain't after nobody's money. Ain't no telethons. Ain't none of that. I ain't getting no book deal. Nothing. Nothing. I'm here to tell the truth, though. I'm here to stand on it. Here to stand on it. But like I said, don't let him lie to y'all and say he'll go the bigger route for being the reason he won't fight me. And let's do it on camera too. Because if he still put hands on y'all, but he won't put hands on somebody who don't got no respect for him, who honors him for what he is, a piece of trash, who don't revere him, somebody he know will hit him right in his mouth and knock him out. He ain't gonna do that with them. So, Mr. Big and Bad, David, I can't wait to hear your rebuttal on this. But like I said, he probably won't accept that because his pride is too high. He won't want to get beat up in front of the world. But that's for y'all to know, staff. I'm talking to y'all. This who you following. A coward. A coward. Hey, and I apologize to y'all in advance, staff, because I know y'all probably gonna be up like till 10 in the morning, having a meeting about me, having a meeting about the things I've said, talking about how I'm a detractor. Oh yeah, and guess what? His favorite line. I told you he was gonna do that. I told you she was gonna do that. I told you they was gonna betray. Is he a prophet when he say that? I used to think so. He would tell us in advance, hey, this person gonna leave. Hey, this person they gonna betray. And then when it happened, it's like, man, you know, I was there with y'all. I was there with y'all, staff. Man, Apostle said that. He said they was gonna do that. But this is what he do, staff. From the very beginning, when you get there, after the love bombing scene, after that honeymoon phase is over with the cult, you know, after them first few weeks, couple weeks, that they let you get a full night's sleep at night, they let you get some rest. And then after that, it's work, 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 work. Rebuke, 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 rebuke to keep you in line, to crush your spirit from doubting that the Most High can talk to you directly. Come on, man. I know what y'all go through. I know what y'all think. Because ask yourself this. How is it that you were your hearing was so clear You could hear the voice of the Most High so clear when it was time for you to reconnect or relocate and connect with David. You know, you might hear some words like from David saying, "Oh, praise God, son. Praise God, daughter. I know this is the will of God because, you know, I just had it on my heart that, you know, you were supposed to come here." You know, something like that. Some of y'all might have heard it, but with me, it was a little bit different. You know, nobody told me to go to St. Louis. You know, the dream that I had with this supernatural being, he never told me to go to St. Louis and connect with David. But some of y'all might have watched my testimony that I had. It used to be up on David's old YouTube, and he used to show it on Facebook sometimes, on his old Facebook pages. And you heard the things that I shared earlier, how I had these dreams and then I had that appearance, but no one ever told me to go where David was. But in my testimony, that's what I used to say. And, you know, after a certain point, you know, I couldn't continue to lie. And the reason why I even did it in the first place, I exaggerated what I experienced. Out of my pride, I exaggerated it. And instead of just saying, hey, this guy is talking about this, I want to go and relocate and be a part of what I believe he has going on. What I did, I exaggerated the experience and said that I was told that David was this and David was that. But I heard that on the message before I even left Cleveland. I heard him say that somebody said Jesus told them David was his best friend. So I regurgitated that. And I wanted to, you know, like I said, out of my pride, I exaggerated. And I said it because I didn't want to be the oddball left out, because he made it seem like everybody just having all these amazing experiences. And so, you know, I don't make excuse for my lies and my deception. I own up to it. I was dead wrong, and I wish I had never done it. But I'm here before all of y'all because some of y'all might have even got connected with the ministry or felt more connected with the cult uh, because you heard my testimony. And you say, well, if that's really true, how come you still said it? I'm glad you asked. Well, I still said it because I felt bad. I got convicted about lying. And so I told David, and I went to him humbly and I said, sir, I got something to tell you. And he was like, okay. And I'm like, you know, how I shared, you know, how I was telling you that Jesus said you was his best friend to me and that I need to go where you are because you teach what he teach. And he said, yeah. I said, that never happened. I said, I had the dream where I saw you and those other preachers. And then I had the experience where the supernatural being appeared in my grandmother's living room. However, he did not tell me you were his best friend. He did not tell me you teach what he teaches. And, you know, this was probably like 2009, maybe like a year into it at this point. And so I, you know, I was kind of like on the inside, you know, like cringing because I'm thinking, man, this holy man is about to be infuriated with rage and anger because I've been lying, getting up in the pulpit telling a lie, right? Well, he didn't respond like that. He said, okay. Uh, he said, oh, okay, I understand you lied. You know, uh, God has forgiven you, and I don't hold it against you. Is what he said. And I said, oh man, thank you so much. And I felt relieved, right? But then he said, just don't tell anybody you lied about it, because that will bring a reproach to the ministry. And it was like a gut punch to me, because I'm like, oof, like, what do you mean by that? Don't tell nobody, and all he cared about was the image of him. He cared about his image, but the way he presented it to me was that it'll bring a reproach to the ministry and it will cause many to fall away. So there's that manipulation tactic again, because of course I don't want nobody to fall away because of something that I lied about, and because now I want to, you know, say what happened. I don't want nobody to fall away and then go to hell. So that's what kept me trapped from not saying anything else about it, and but he still wanted me to say things. He still wanted me to share that. He didn't want me to change how I got there or anything. And so that was probably one of the first red flags that I saw with him. Was like, but yet and still, I believe that okay, uh, I don't know anything. And in David's words, we're just novices. We're here to learn. We're here to soak up. We're here to see how this is really done. So I just took it on the chin and said, okay, he knows something I don't. Jesus ain't appearing to me like that. And so uh, again, that kept me stuck. And then probably about 2 years in, a year and a half to 2 years in, um, he, well, not even. I'll say about less than a year in, he began messing with uh, one of the women on staff that uh, was from Detroit. And so he started messing with her. Uh, what I mean by that is, dating her. Um, at that time, I didn't know, that he was having sex with the women, but it was just at that time dating, as far as I knew. And, you know, he's no longer married. They got divorced. So, I don't believe a man should have to stay single, if he goes through a divorce. And so uh, I didn't judge that. I didn't think nothing of it until I seen him doing the same thing with another woman on staff from Detroit. Um, but yet and still, you know, not that I turn a blind eye to it, because I see it, I know it's wrong, but it was more so, if I'm looking at things wrong, I don't want to be judged by the Most High because I have an evil eye. So I left it at, I'm not gonna touch it. But if he is wrong, then the Father gonna get him. That's between him, David, those women, and the Most High. And so, that's how I was able to keep going for so long, um, because I know how the religious church can be. I know that, if they know that you did something wrong, they judge you and throw you away and just throw you to hell. But I know that the Most High ain't like that. So I was able to look past those things that I knew he was wrong about, because, I'm not perfect about everything. And so I felt like me and David, as I was traveling with him and things like that, I felt like we were, really creating a bond. You know, I, I genuinely I really had true, genuine love for David, and I still do. And I believe that he has some love for me, but it was tainted, because when he gets into uh, his different moods and modes, uh, he'll walk around with a chip on his shoulder, and because you believe the lies of the things that he say about himself that are good, that come from heaven, the supernatural power. Uh, People have gone blind for coming against him, and people have dropped dead and died, and all of this stuff. You believe it, and you walk on eggshells when, like when he on one, he feeling some type of way. It might be one of them women that he's messing with. Uh, he might be into it with one of them or feel some type of way about one of them. And then as the staff, we'll feel it, especially those of us who, live with him, um, drove him around, traveled with him. Um, he's a totally different person. I seen the the funny side, the more human side, but then that's very few, far and in between. The majority of what you see with David is he's upset, he's angry, um, and I'm sure he probably telling y'all staff right now that, oh no, that was just at him because he was rebellious, he was a devil, blah blah blah. I know him. I know what he's saying. I know what he's saying. No, it wasn't just me, you liar. It's whoever you got some type of issue with, if they're in your vicinity. It was simple as that. He's, you know, uh, shout out to pregnant women, but he's emotional like a pregnant woman. He don't just have a belly like one. Because I'm telling you, you gotta, his appearance. The reason I'm talking about that is because he really think like Lucifer. He really think he beautiful. I'm telling you, he do. Behind closed doors, he don't stay out that mirror. Hey, armor bearers, what up to y'all, man? Y'all know what I'm talking about. He don't stay out that mirror. He's so vain. Don't believe him when he talking about, oh, I'm frugal. Uh I just I don't like to spend the Lord's money. You a liar. You don't just like to spend the most high money. You like to spend everybody money. Everybody money. He ain't frugal about nothing except for when it comes to paying the staff. And I can't even say he frugal with that. He just don't do it. And so for the people who be donating, man, this is what you giving your money to him.
Hey, Cliff.
You giving your money. Yes.
Hold up one second. Hey, Thomas. Hey, bro. Imagine holding on to all this shit for 15 fucking years, dude. Why don't you chill the fuck out and just let the guy talk, all right? How about that?
I ain't
all
even
right.
see.
Don't worry. I got you. Dude, imagine sitting on this shit for 15 years, dude. Let the guy talk. Go ahead, Cliff.
Yeah, yeah. And whoever, I ain't even looking at the comments and stuff right now. Thomas or whoever, you can get in the same boat with David at the end of the day.
Yeah, hop that
You know what
fucking
I'm
boat
saying?
with David, bro. Yep.
Yeah, please do. And so everybody who listening, don't even worry about them comments. You know what I'm saying? Because they gonna come. It's probably David, if it's something negative. But yeah, when you giving money, you know what I'm saying, to what you believe is a ministry where people are being healed and saved all over the world, and man, stop it. You giving money to buy the mansions. You giving money to buy them buildings. You giving money to buy them cars. You gave him money to buy them clothes that you see on David. You know, I mean, I've gone shopping with him all them years I was with him. He ain't frugal. He ain't frugal. And yeah, I've seen him shop at Macy's before. I've seen him buy a couple things out of there. Right? I've seen him buy a couple things out of there. But nah, that ain't where he go. you know, and no, he ain't ashamed of it either. But he will make it seem like, he's so meek and humble, and no, he's not, man. No, he's not. Ask yourself, why are you following a 50-year-old man who disguises his voice like Michael Jackson? What type of real man does that type of stuff? And I'm being serious. What type of real man does that? You see how he was in that deposition, speaking like a little girl. But then he want to get strong with y'all though. That's what you following, man. And I understand the brainwashing. And for those of y'all on staff, that word is like kryptonite to y'all. Y'all ain't gonna hear that or receive it right now. I understand. I get it, because I didn't either. I blew down on my own family, my blood family. I forsook them, not for David, but I thought I was following the Most High at first. And so it was nothing for me to forsake him, because that's what I thought the Father was telling me to do at that moment. Not cut my family off, not love, not hate my family, nothing like that. But, set a distance as I was seeking the Most High more. And so through this whole thing, from 2008, even up until this evening right now, I ain't disclosed nothing with my family, my mom, my dad, my grandmother, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my brothers, my sisters. You know what I'm saying? My family back home in Cleveland. I love y'all. That's the first thing I'm going to say. I love y'all, and I never stop loving y'all. Y'all mean the world to me. Y'all mean the world to me. And if I ever hurt y'all, I'm so sorry. It was never my intention to hurt y'all. I never once thought that y'all stopped loving me. I never believed that. I want y'all to know that. And I can say this. When I first got to the cult, I know some of y'all had reached out and y'all was concerned. Y'all even told me it was a cult in 2008, but I didn't listen. And because I didn't listen, I went through a lot. I went through a lot. And through it all, y'all never stopped loving me. And I want y'all to know I recognize that. I recognize that. I really recognize that. And I know it. So don't question yourself if I question your love, because I don't. I thought I was doing the right thing at that time. And, when I left at 23, like many people at that age, you can't tell us much of nothing. But as I've matured into a man, I want y'all to know that as y'all been praying for me, the Most High has answered y'all prayers, and I'm out of that cult. I'm free today. I'm completely delivered, and I'm ready to stand on the word of the Most High all the days of my life, as I've been doing since I left that cult. So, like I said, I ain't said nothing to y'all directly, and even growing up, y'all know I've always been the quiet one. Out of everybody in the group, out of everybody in the family, I've always been the quiet one. But I'm telling you, I'm not the little boy. I'm not that young man. I'm somebody different now. But I'm somebody different for the better. And I've gone through a lot, but it's made me into who I need to become. And, especially my mom, I'm not a woman or a mother. So I can't really say that. I can't really say I know how you feel, but I can only imagine, now that, I've been a father all these years, I can only imagine what you may have been feeling, you know, and I'm sorry that I was distant from you. I didn't even at that time I didn't even think to try and see how you may have felt about where I was and what I was doing. And it's not because I didn't genuinely care what you thought or felt, but my mind was conditioned to believe that anybody, including family and relatives, who was not in that cult was outsiders. And, I know David, he tried to get up there and paint this picture like it's all beautiful and, glorious, but he's a liar. And the manipulation that I went through emotionally and mentally and spiritually, it caused the trauma to make a lot of people my enemies in my mind, including some of y'all in the family. Although I knew you loved me, that was the thing that I always held on to in my heart that I knew was true. But I'm telling you what happened with the mind conditioning. And it broke down a lot of my morality, things that y'all taught me growing up as a boy that I didn't even know was from scripture until I got older and read the scriptures for myself. But you instilled those principles in me. To my beloved aunt, who just reached out to me through text message before I got on this call, I thank you for introducing me to the scriptures. I thank you. I thank you for your prayers all these years. And I just want to say, you don't got to worry about me. I'm glad you was worrying about me when I was in that call and you was praying for me. And I didn't know it. But you ain't got to worry about me now. But I still accept those prayers. I stand on that. The seeds that you planted in me when I was in the 4th or 5th grade, when you used to make me go to them services every Sunday, and I hated it. Those seeds are growing now, a lot of them. And they have grown and sprouted into something beautiful in my life. And I thank you. And to the rest of my family, I'm going to talk to y'all individually. But I thank you. I love y'all. And know that for sure. But I want y'all to know, staff, This ain't no gimmick here. Ain't no script reading. It wasn't no coaching. It wasn't none of that. It's from my heart. Just like I know what's in y'all's heart, man. Like I said, I ain't got nothing to gain. What is y'all leaving that cult gonna do for me? Nothing. Except give me such peace, knowing that y'all are gonna be going to something better, going towards something greater in life than to being a slave to David. You know, David, when I got there, he gave me like, he was giving us like maybe $250 a month, or yeah, maybe like, no, he started with 500. He did that for like 2 months. And we like, all right, it ain't much, but you know, we're believing the most high for our things anyway, not no man. So it wasn't nothing. You know, we just took that as a blessing, and the most high made it work. But maybe after 2 months, he found a reason to make that 500 go to 250. And you know, he's like, you did this wrong, you messed this up, or you know, something like that. It was something bogus, but I know it was bogus because I've seen him do it countless times over the years now with other people. So he'll find a reason to not give the little bit of money that he had agreed to in the first place. And some of y'all ain't never seen one red cent from David. And I know you fighting in your mind and you telling yourself, hey, you know, what about me? You buying all these mansions and I can't even get $100 a week. I can't get $20 a week. Yeah, it's like that. I can't get $5 a week. It's like that. It's like that. I know what it's like to put on them fake smiles. I hurt for y'all when I see y'all get these interviews on this fake red carpet experience that only y'all was there for. That wasn't no grand opening. Nothing about that was grand except for its failure. He just want to look big and massive, and he's nothing. You know that in your heart, but you tell yourself that it's Satan telling you. That's why you're feeling that way, because that's what David has conditioned you to believe. How do I know he conditioned you to believe that? Because I was one of the people that he used to use to condition you. I was a love bomber. I really had genuine love for you, though. But I bombed you with love because I knew what you was going to go through. But I couldn't tell you that because I had fear that the Most High was going to do something to me if I spoke out against it. But I'm here today to speak out against it because I know the Most High ain't with David. And that's what I'm here to let you know. So you can get free. I see them young ladies that get up there, the Caucasian lady, the young ladies, and then you also have the African American young lady. I'll be seeing y'all up there. I see y'all burnt out. Not just emotionally, but you tired of David's BS. You tired of him. And he probably gonna hammer on y'all because I said something about y'all. But I'm talking to y'all. The Most High is talking to y'all too. He telling y'all to get out. Now's the time. Because he telling David, let my people go. Let my people go, David. You think because ain't nothing happened in these past 30 some odd years, ain't nothing gonna happen to you, David. You know, that's one of your favorite things to say to people. You think because it ain't happened to you yet that it ain't gonna happen. Well, the message is for you tonight, David. You think ain't nothing gonna happen to you because it hasn't happened yet. But I'm telling you, something about to happen. And it's best if you repent, let these people go, or the hammer coming down on you real hard, spiritually. I ain't got time to get up here and slander you. A lot of them other people, they were still hurt who've gotten up and spoken. And I salute them because they was brave enough to do it. And so a lot of the stuff that they were speaking out of hurt, you was able to dismiss and it was able to roll off you because a lot of it was mixed with lies and, you know, just emotional feelings. Ain't none of that with me, buddy. I'm telling the truth about you, man. Telling the truth about you. You a fraud. Going back to your gangster days, I talked to your people in Memphis. When I was in your parents' home, when we went down there to visit, I talked to the ones, or to the one who was there in this epic shootout you spoke about. Yeah, remember I was there when when your best friend, your childhood best friend was there, and he asked you right there in front of me at your hotel at the Hilton in East Memphis. He came in there and he said, David, he said, why you be lying to these people? Telling them you was a gangster and doing all this stuff. And you tried to play it off because it was just me there. And you said, oh, shut up. And you tried to change the subject. But then he brought it up over your mom's house. And the person who was really living that life that you spoke about, he was there. Remember? He was there. And your best friend that brought it up, and he said, David, why you be lying to these people telling them you was a gangster and selling drugs and you ain't never did nothing like that? And then you in that soft voice that you put on, you talk to the man who was really living it, and you say, hey, you remember that shootout that y'all was in, and I was hiding behind the car when y'all was shooting across the field? I remember that. I knew then you wasn't living like that, but yet and still I stood by you all them years. So you can't come out and say I'm a traitor, I'm a betrayer, or none of that. I knew things about you from the very beginning that you lie about even to this day. But I didn't switch up on you. I didn't expose you because I still believed that the other things was real. And nothing about you is real. The crutches and canes that will be up on those stages. Come on, bro. You know where them crutches and canes came from, man. Nah, to the people who thought he bought them at Walmart or something, he ain't buy them there. Them was real miracles. Those was real miracles. The wheelchairs, the crutches and canes, them other devices that y'all would see lined up on that stage. Those were real miracles. But guess what? David wasn't present when not one of them took place. It happened in 2009 in an elderly facility in Detroit. And he's going to want to say, yeah, I trained that team of people to go to that place and pray for the sick, and they were all healed. That's why they got healed, because I trained them. That's what he's going to say. But he ain't never going to ask about or have the people speak about the miracles that they were seeing in their own lives that the Most High was doing through them before they got to that call. He ain't going to ask about that because we were seeing them. Me and my ex-wife, we was for sure seeing them before we got connected with David. And now that I'm not there, I still see him, David. Ain't got nothing to do with you, boy. Nothing. But yeah, those was real miracles. Those was real devices. But he had nothing to do with it. But he would line the same ones up from 2009 on up until I don't know for how many years. The same ones because nobody was getting healed on them services. Nobody was getting healed. Maybe, like I said earlier, maybe some headaches, some backaches, stuff like that. But nobody is getting out of crutches. I mean, nobody's getting out of wheelchairs and broken legs are being healed in them services. That's not true. Nobody's being raised from the dead. That is not true. Who, David? You say 16 or 17 people was raised from the dead in your ministry. Who, David? Oh, you say the guy from the Super Bowl, right? The guy who got shot at the Applebee's, right? That man was not killed. You say the young the young man who the staff members say is his cousin. He was not dead. And staff member, you should be ashamed. You lying on your cousin. You know he was not dead. You know he wasn't dead. But guess what? If that stuff was really true though, I don't know about any listener, but me myself, if I was raised from the dead by any man that the Most High might have used, I'm gonna be forever grateful to that man. Even though, yeah, the Most High used him, but I'm gonna be grateful. Where are these people at who was allegedly raised from the dead? And this is in recent stuff. This is all recent. You know, within the last 10 years. Where are these people at? Where are they at? Because I guarantee you, you ask them now, they're not gonna say it happened the way David say. That's why he wants to control the microphone when he gets up there and speak. Because if he begins saying something that don't agree with the direction he wanted to go in, he gonna switch it up. And he telling y'all staff members now, yeah, of course I'll switch it up because I control the atmosphere. Yeah, that means he's controlling your mind. That's what that's about. But y'all know the truth. Those of y'all who were still around back in those days. Nobody has cars there. Nobody got nothing. They got the drawers that they got on, the suit and the dress shoes and heels that they wear, and whatever little bit of toiletries they got. Y'all think because y'all living in a hotel now that that's something. That's how conditioned y'all minds are. Y'all are grown men and women living in a hotel. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with living in a hotel if that's what you need to do if you're at that point in your life. I understand things happen. A hotel is better than the street. But I'm telling you, people on staff, you able bodied young men and women, that the Most High got a real purpose for you. And it ain't to be sitting up here running behind David, being his slave like a dummy. That ain't his will for your life. You say you're in a 20-year process, right? Okay. Well, if you're in a 20-year process, riddle me this. David say he got saved at 17. 20 years would have been 37, right? How is it that he had a ministry and, out of his own words, a TV ministry at the age of 23? But when it comes to you, you're a novice. You still need to sit and learn. You don't know how to do ministry professionally yet. That's why you got to go through a 20-year process. How come he ain't been through one? And if he did go through one, as he say, everybody else got to come to him and submit and do it. If he did go through one, who was he submitted to? I'm asking that because why do you got to submit to him? And I know he's saying, well, ain't nobody had this in the past 2,000 years. Nobody's had this face-to-face relationship with Jesus. That's why you're supposed to listen to me. He a liar. He got me on that one. He had me good. But he a liar. Because I believed it. Because I've never heard nobody else say it. But guess what, staff? Since I've been gone from there, I've been studying. I've been doing my research. And not just studying the Bible, but I've been studying cults. And I came across David ain't the first cult leader, not even in the 1900s, to say that he had a face-to-face relationship with Jesus and that he's the only one in about 2,000 years who have had it. And I said, wait a second. Wait a second. He told us this was revealed to him in a dream in heaven. I said, he a liar. I knew then. And this was like in the past year, I found that out. And when y'all get ready, contact me. Talking to the staff, I'll send y'all that information. Contact me so you can see for yourself. Yeah, he a false prophet. He a false prophet. That's why I can talk to him like this. I'll never talk to a real one like this. But them false ones, yeah. The scriptures say to call them out. And that's what we're doing tonight. That's what we're doing tonight. And, you know, for those of y'all who saw the deposition, and in a minute, Alex, you know, I'm going to open up for questions too, you know, because I just wanted to say this last part, man. For the people who've seen that deposition, that might have been the first time y'all came across David. I'm going to tell you this. Everything they was talking about in there was true. Everything. He had me looking at the man who had the deposition set up. He had me looking at him like he was an enemy. But this man was just a father and an ex-husband of somebody in the ministry. And he got that ex-wife to get up there and defame this man's name publicly. Got his own daughter to say he did, abbreviation SA to his own daughter. And I couldn't believe it. I believed at that time, but when I realized he lied and had them lie, I knew how strong that mind control was. And to you, woman, and to you, daughter, that's still in that place, and especially you, daughter, you've been messing with David all these years. You was pure. You hadn't been touched before that. My heart goes out to you, young lady. He groomed you. He groomed you. You're undeserving of that, and you need to get free. You need to connect back with your father. You need to repent. Because I'm afraid for you. Because that was wrong. But there's still hope. There's still hope. So, Alex, there's a bunch more I can say, but I want the people to get a chance to ask some things, and we'll go in those directions.
Yeah, man. I don't even know where to start, honestly, bro. That's some pretty powerful stuff, dude. Like with your mom, like I'm with you, dude. I'm with you.
Yeah,
This motherfucker tears apart families, man.
it definitely does, man. One of the first things he did was tear me and my wife apart. But I didn't know it for years that he had already begun it that he had started it from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I found this out because one of the things that my ex was doing was uh, at that time she was working on the finances
Mm-hmm.
of the cult.
Yeah.
And so uh, he has another son that he had by another woman who was a part of the cult before we had got there. And uh, my ex, it was part of her job description to send out, whatever bills and payments David needed. And so whether it was his personal stuff or for the cult. And so he had her sending out, his child support payments, um, paying those things or whatever to the other child that he had, while he was still married. Like I said earlier, I'm by no means perfect in no way, shape, or form. So I could care less that, you know, you did that in your marriage. That's not my business. You would have never heard nothing from me about it. But he had my wife to not tell me. He told her, don't let him know about this. And I didn't know for years. And so within the first few months, maybe 4 months we were there, he already had my wife lying to me. And guess what? We got married 2 weeks before we went to the cult. So immediately we were being ripped apart subtly. And then, after time, the damage was already done. But you're absolutely right, man. He tears these families apart.
I got a question from Cat Mom. What do you think David's
Okay.
ultimate plan is? Keeps buying real estate. Think he'll flee the U.S. in his plane.
Um, it's it's hard to say, man. Because like with David and many of these other cults, there's always you always on a rat wheel. It's always some type of work that you got to do because they just got another vision. They just had another dream, and because of the fear that's there, people don't really have a voice to call him out and question things. So when he might have been uh, laser focused on one thing, and then all of a sudden, when that starts to fail or it ain't doing what he think it should, all of a sudden he has a new appearance from Jesus, and there's a new goal, there's a new thing that he has to do. And so I'm not exactly sure what his end goal is. I know he would always talk about this $400 million vision for St. Louis. The things that he's been talking about, these big screens and all this other stuff. That'll never happen. That will never happen. And so ultimately, I just think uh, he's just swimming in his vanity because he loves stuff. you know, as one of his former drivers, I would drive him around like downtown St. Louis at nighttime just so he can drive past the stupid window and look at the car. I'm talking about 1, 2, 3 in the morning in a Bentley or a Rolls Royce so he can look at himself in the reflection. And, I could be laid up with my wife in bed with my wife and children, but instead I'm driving this punk around. So his vanity just consumes him. And unless you're really close to him, you won't really know that, how bad it is. You could see it through, the TV, but until you're really behind closed doors with him when he's always asking you how he looks and, how does this look on me, you really don't know his vanity levels. And so that's what I think it is. I just think it's a never ending lust for stuff. That's why he keeps asking for more. Besides, he got to pay, uh, these court costs now.
Yeah, he's got a lot of court costs to pay. Let's see. We got
Yeah.
another question here. What was it? It's a good one too. Let's see. How many are in on the scam with David?
Um, I would say 3 for sure. Which is him, Michelle, and
Joseph.
what you call that chump, the crypt keeper,
Oh,
Bishop Scott.
the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, you know, them for sure. Now, Joseph, he's like I said, man, he's just in that position, and I love my brother. I love him dearly, but he ain't got no spine, especially when it comes to David. And so he's gonna be a yes man. And I just hope that he don't become a fall guy when everything crumbles at some point. But David, Michelle, uh, Scott, um, I don't know Marcus Ball. I remember he was, starting to connect with David when I was still there, but I don't think I ever met him. And if I did, maybe once or twice in a service or something in passing. But I don't know how close he really is. David likes to make things look a way that they're really not. And so those three for sure. But I'm sure there's some others that are not necessarily a part of David's cult, but they're, friends in ministry, that type of thing. But those three for sure that we see all the time.
Okay, what do you make of all the different scams? We got the Convoy of Miracles. We have what else do we have? The stage, the Arena Crusade, all the properties.
Man,
Do you see David
I
completing
feel
any of those projects?
absolutely not. Absolutely not. I see them as ghost projects, because nothing ever comes of them. You know, that by getting that hotel, that's not nothing big. You know, um, it's a lot of money being spent. That's why it's big because it's other people's money being spent. But the way he wants people to believe, oh man, we're doing this big thing. It's not big. Trust me, y'all. It is not big at all. He wants it to seem that way. He's been that way since the first day I met him. You know, he used to talk about, like, this was when we very first got there. He would always talk about the millions of dollars that he had, and he gave it up, and then the private jets he had, and he gave it up, and um, just all these things. But then come to find out, he never had it. He never had no private jet. He don't have no private jet. And then I remember in 2010 when him and a, a gentleman by the name of Jim, who used to fly planes, that David used to call his uh, pilot. I remember they went to some hangar somewhere where they had like a bunch of like private jets and things like that. And David took some pictures inside of this private jet. And so he sent the pictures over to me because it was somewhere out of town. I was in St. Louis at the time. And David sent them over to me and he said, post these on Facebook. So, just, and that was it. So I posted them. I don't know what to say. I don't have no backstory with them. And after I posted them, he rebukes me through a text because I didn't post a description and things like that. And he put one up there himself and he says, the Lord has just blessed me with 2 new jets. And he lied. He lied. So no, when it comes to any of these projects, I don't see him doing that. And to the people who keep giving money or are contemplating giving money, or you have given money already, you've been scammed, you're being scammed, or you will be scammed. Why do I say that? Because you believe these stories that he tells, how Jesus appears to a millionaire and he tells him to give this to David, give that to David, buy David this, buy. That ain't true, man. There's two millionaires that I knew of that I'm gonna speak on real quick and real brief is that one of them, both of them, David called them sons in the Gospels, right? Well, one lived out of Montana. He got that cream colored Bentley back in 2009 for David. He got it in his name. It had Montana plates and all of that stuff. David was paying payments on that Bentley. David bought the Bentley. But when he got up in the pulpit, he would like to say, yeah, the Lord appeared to one of my sons in the gospel and told him to buy me a Bentley, live from the pits of hell. Then the same thing with the infamous Mercedes that was cut into a limo. Another young man who was once a part of the ministry. Uh, and I apologize to you too, man. You and your wife, for the things that I may have said to you that was wrong, defending David back then. But he had him buy him a Mercedes. And same thing, the Lord appeared to this person. Well, he told him, if you buy this, then the Lord will do this for you. It wasn't no appearance. It wasn't an appearance. So he's lying to y'all when he say that stuff. He does that because you believe that you're giving it to good ground, but you're really not. That's why nothing ever comes of it, because it's all going to David and his greed. He don't even want to feed the staff. Everybody there on food stamps. Come on, man. Stop it, David. Everybody there is on food stamps. And the people can't even keep their own card. So everybody who exposed that before me, they all told the truth. They get the cards to Michelle, or at least that's how they was doing it back then. They gave all the cards to Michelle. Somebody was designated over them cards, and they will call those cards to see how much the balance was, and then they had like a little sheet, and they write out how much was left on there, and then they go through each card, and as they'll send out the women to go shopping or some of the men to go shopping. They'll know how much is on the cards, and each of these cards got those staff members' names on them, and uh, they can't even have their own card, and so it's definitely a concentration camp where people are rationed what they can and what they can't have.
What kind of abuse is going on there when you were there?
Um, there's spiritual abuse, emotional, mental, and the good one that I know people are looking for is it happening, physical abuse. Um, you know, I've seen them slap people upside the head. I've seen them slap people in the face. Um, I've seen them, grab men by the collars and jack them up on the wall. You know, um, I didn't see with my own eyes, but I did see the aftermath of one of the young men who served him closely. Uh, Shout out to you, bro. I love you and I miss you, man. Um, he beat him up. You know, one of the women were there that David was involved with at that time. She saw him beat this young man up. And this young man, from a physical standpoint, I know he'll step all on David's face. But because of the mind control, he believes that he was deserving of it. Um, and this young lady, she told me that David beat this young man up, busted his lip and his nose because um, he had gotten something wrong. Excuse me. He had gotten something wrong on his food order or something like that when he brought him his food. And so David, all depending on the woman that he's with at that moment, he likes to show off. And so that one he liked to show off a lot for. And so I could see him doing something like that. And to that young man that it happened to, don't never let him put his hands on you again. Don't never let him do that, man. Get out of there, bro. Get out of there, man.
Yeah.
I'm a father just like you, and I had to, and my children are grateful for it. Get out of there, bro. I'm praying for you, man. I really am. Give me a shout when you need to. Okay. And that's that, Alex.
How does he?
Oh,
Oh, did you want to wrap it up, Big Doug?
oh no, no, no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
No, I was saying
Okay.
concerning that.
Yeah. Okay. Um, we're always wondering, how does he amass so much money? I, if you know, what's his get downs
Yeah,
like?
that.
He gets a lot of money. We're looking at all these properties. These are multi-million
Hmm.
dollar properties, and he bought these all of a sudden. How does
Yeah.
he amass so much money?
Uh, it's hard for me to say, because I really don't know.
Okay.
Um, because when I was there, he wasn't getting this type of money. You know, not at all, not even close. That I do know. He had just had the one property on on 10 page from Harold Lewis. He was in that one, and then uh like at the end of 2017, early part of 2018, he had moved into that big brick house in Chesterfield. And that was the last thing that I did for him was help him move into that house. So he was, he was just starting to get the houses. The Harold Lewis house, that was maybe like 2013 because I had left for a while. I had left for about 7 months to go to Cleveland. And while I was in Cleveland from 20 August 2013 to like maybe March or so 2014, that was when he got the house on 10 page. And so I know that he's real good with the lies that he sells. And so and I can speak for myself. If I would have had $1 million at any given point, I'd have gave it because I was believing that stuff wholeheartedly. And so he he doesn't seem to have an issue getting money from people. That's the easy part for him. The hard part for David is maintaining the relationships with the people who gave him the money. And so I remember one point in time when I'm not exactly sure how he got connected with the Cleveland Browns, but um, he had got connected with the Cleveland Browns, and there was a few players who had agreed, for David to come in and I don't know if it was prayer or he do something with them. Well, that didn't last any amount of time, and that specific football player from the team that he was talking to, he cut David off. And I know that because David was talking about how somebody got in his ear and he's become a traitor. This an NFL player. But he's a traitor to you. He wasn't loyal to you in the first place. But David, he's good at squeezing money out of people in the initial stages. And then, and it might last for a few years, but those relationships do not last because all the promises that come from David never come to pass. They don't come to pass. And once people figure that out, that's when he lists these people as traitors. So I'm not exactly sure how he's getting the money if it's not through that. But I do know with the building in Detroit that he got, he had went through a loan shark to get that money to pay that building, to buy that building. So it wouldn't necessarily be foreign to me if he was doing stuff like that now with loan sharks somewhere else. But with this type of money, he's an idiot. because his money is slowed up. He'd like to get up there and say it hasn't, but his money is over now. I'm telling y'all, staff, his money's over now. That's why he took out that credit card, max 40,000 in a month, and y'all ain't see one penny of it. He ain't do nothing for y'all. So yeah, that whole thing is drying up. I think he bit off more than he could really chew, during this whole pandemic thing. And he liked to get up there and gloat and say, we've been bigger than everybody. We've been more massive. And now, you know, his money's drying up
The complete
because people are
opposite.
catching on. Exactly. Exactly. He wants people to believe the opposite so that they'll keep giving.
Another thing, is David sleeping around with women?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Uh Many of the women that's there on staff, many women around this country. There's been several women from around the world, and I'm speaking on what I know with my own eyes, let alone all the things that's happened before I got there and that has happened since I left.
House poor. Yeah, he's house poor.
And you know, there's like like I said, countless women, and he tells all of them he love them, so it ain't like he just this big player. He telling these women he is simp for real. If people really want to know, he is simp. He want to be all tough and act all hard towards these men who he has brainwashed. But when it comes to certain women, I mean, you think he sound like a girl during that deposition? I'm talking about, man. I don't want to say the word, but that's what he sound like, And when he put on this soft voice for these women, and like I said, he tell them all he love them, every last one of them. So it ain't like he's just this big King David, like he wants y'all to believe. He tell all these women he love them. He sell them all dreams. Uh, I don't think he tell them all he gonna marry them, but he tell a good handful of, or more than a handful, but he tell a good deal of women that he gonna marry them. You know, and a guy, that's a bad thing to do. Period. To have that type, that many women and things. However, if that's the type of life you live it. Don't lie to them. Tell them what you're really about. And uh, in his, like I said, in his mind, he thinks he's, the most beautiful thing on the face of this earth. I'm telling you, he'll never admit that, but I'm telling you, he do by his actions. And so, because of that, he's very insecure about his weight. He's very insecure about his bald. I can't even say a bald spot no more. Dude, you just bald. Cut it off. It looks horrible, man. Man, he looked horrible. You know, but he got to lead with his money. He got to lead with stuff because of course, not all women are materialistic,
It's like
but a
David's toy
great deal of
box.
them are. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, uh, I remember he would always. It was it was almost like copy and paste if it wasn't in his Facebook inbox. Because I used to work on his Facebook and stuff, and literally thousands of women he messaging. The same type of stuff. Oh baby, you're so beautiful. Oh, you're hot. I would like to ravish you. And I'm saying these words so that the women know I ain't lying. I ain't making this stuff up. And you know, he would ask, like, if a woman, man, I'm telling you, bro, a woman could have her wedding band as her profile pic and hugged up with her husband, right? And he'll ask, are you married? You know, shouldn't even be talking to this married woman,
Yeah.
but he's asking, are you married? Then, she says, yes. Oh, well, no disrespect. I just had to tell you how beautiful you were. And A lot of women wouldn't respond. Some would say thank you and not respond after that. But then some would bite the bait and they would get caught up, And then he would send pictures of the mansion. He'd send pictures of his car. He'd send uh, pictures of him up on the stage preaching, but then a fake picture of a crowd that he ain't never had. Those fake pictures of, hundreds of thousands of, man, stop that. You know, like I remember one summer, man, I'm talking about every single day we out in the heat, passing out flyers, putting flyers on cars, telephone poles, going into businesses. I'm talking about like maybe 150,000 flyers, something like that. It was the biggest crowd that was ever there since I had been there all those years, even to this day. And it didn't even fill up that whole place in Detroit. It didn't even fill up that whole place. And I'm talking about he chew you out, man. When people don't come, he blames the staff. Y'all ain't doing something right. God showed me if you do it like this, it'll happen. Bro, stop. You a liar. You know, if if the Most High really showed you something, He had showed you a joke, and that it would never happen. Because people, you know what I'm saying? People ain't coming to nothing like that,
Yeah.
especially in this day and age. It's a whole different time frame. These false prophets are exposed, and so he he captures these women with this stuff, especially some of these preachers' wives. If you preachers are listening, check your wife inbox, check her texts, check all that, because he don't care. He'll go after the preachers' wives. I've seen him do it, and not only have I seen him do it, but he got caught. The one of the husbands caught on, and there's been several husbands who've caught on over the years. And because I was loyal to David, I would take the rap for him. You know, uh, I remember one time when I was in Cleveland, like I said, for them 7 months, uh, something happened with some woman he had been talking to, and the husband finds out. And David and Michelle call me while I'm in Cleveland, and they say, he's laughing about it. He's like, "Oh man, Cliff, I got to tell you this, man." And I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" And he's like, "I got a dilemma. You know how I talk to women, uh, but I was talking to somebody and their husband caught on, and you know, now he talking about exposing the ministry and doing this and doing that. Man, I need you to cover for me." And this wasn't the first time I covered for him either. So I was like, "All right, just give me the details of things that I need to say, so that." And he was like, "Make it believable." I'm like, "I got you." So we get on the phone with this woman and her husband, and he's now David is on three-way. They don't know he's on the phone, but they know Michelle is on the phone, and Michelle is like, she's like, "Sir," talking to the husband, "Sir, I spoke with Apostle Taylor and also with Cliff, and we, Apostle Taylor chewed him out, and just sold this whole story to him." And so when I got on there, I made up, all the things, talked about the things that he found in the text messages, or even some of the stuff he may have not found, but David was speaking on. So I told him, and he wanted to, they wanted to crucify David, but then when they found out, or when they thought it was me, it was more of a softer approach, more of a healing. Sorry about that, brother Cliff. I understand you might have some weaknesses and things, and I don't hold this against you. And so David took advantage of people knowing that, you know, it's hard for them to believe that I would do that to their wife. You know what I'm saying? And he took advantage of that. And I lied to these people for David. And you know, there was never no gun up to my head or nothing like that, in which I had to do it. It was a choice of mine. I chose to do it because, like I said, I believe at that time I was doing God's service, so to speak, and doing what uh, the man of God, who I believe was David at the time, and doing the things that he told me. So I took that like a badge of honor. Like, this I'm taking a fall for this man, and people are looking at me wrong. So it was more like a badge of honor, and that's how he has a lot of people twisted there. He got them sinning against the Most High and going in the wrong direction, but they believe that they're okay because they think that they're covered because David says him and Jesus are best friends. So that's just going to be brushed under the rug because it was for David. And so he keeps a lot of people trapped like that. And that was one of the times with the women. But like I said, man, I picked up so many women from the airport. He'll fly them in, he'll fly them out. We'll fly different places. He'll go see women. Um,
And
some women he'll
who's paying for all this? Where's the money coming from? Who's paying for this? The church funds, I'm guessing, because nobody else is there is working a real job, right?
yeah, yeah, nobody's working. Yeah, it comes out of the church. He would get um he would pay for the hotels out of the church money. Uh he would always, you know, have it listed as maybe a ministry engagement or something he had to do, something like that, when it was never ministry related. Um and even those times when he was going to ministry engagements and preaching at different churches in different cities, he was having women coming over, in those cities. Uh, the dinners and all that, that was always the ministry. Um, every now and then, we would pay for it from his personal card. However, he would always get a reimbursement from the ministry for the things he paid out of his personal account. Not everything was reimbursed from the ministry, but a lot of things were. And you know, not knowing about any different type of laws or you know tax breaks that ministries get, I really didn't question it. So I just figured he knew what he was doing, because if not, he would be in jail by now, right?
Yeah.
So uh
What is the youngest age woman you think transported for David E. Taylor?
could you say that one more time?
What is the youngest age woman you transported for David?
uh I want to say maybe 20,
Okay.
maybe 19, maybe even 18, and she's still there. um he because she was there when she was young enough. uh she might have been like maybe 14 or 15 at the time, if that.
Mhm.
And as far as my knowledge, he didn't have any physical interaction with her, as far as sexual relations before the legal age of 18. But I knew, in them early years, still a very young woman. 18, 19, 20 was somewhere around there when he started messing around with her.
Okay. I had a question earlier too.
And
I'm sorry.
and one thing about that young lady, uh, and this might be touchy for not only her, but some of the other young ladies there. I don't know, but her, I know for sure. I took her to get a Plan B before, after she stayed the night with David, and I can only imagine the emotional pain that you go through after giving your body to this man over and over, and then he got the nerve enough to make you go and get a Plan B. And I'm sure he done told you he'll give you a child, because I know he done said that to many other young women. And these young ladies, Alex, they wasting their life away, man. They prime years with David. Before you know it, they'll be in geriatric years and can't even have a baby or to be high risk. But he's telling them these lies and they believe it. He's going to marry them. They're going to have a child. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And it never happens.
Some apostle this is, hey, I'm going to get you pregnant and, hey, go get a fucking plan B.
Yeah.
Does David use drugs?
Yep. Not that I've ever seen.
Okay.
Like when I say he's a square, I mean that. Like I don't even believe he ever smoked weed before, like he talk about. You know, I don't believe that. He's so you know, it seemed like he grew up sheltered, which is not a bad thing. But that's just how he, you know, when he talks and when you're around him, he don't even know what a lot of this stuff is. I remember countless times, you know, uh, maybe a gun, or we were watching something with a gun on TV, or you know, drugs, and they're talking about this and they're talking about that. Things that somebody who had been in the streets before will automatically know. He don't know them things. And so like I said, I've never seen him get drugs, and he don't drive himself. Uh so if he was to get drugs, somebody would have to go get it for him. And you know, being there living with him at the house, you know, nobody's coming and going if I don't see him, you know. So um you know, if he is now, you know, that's something that will be new since I've left from there.
I had a phone call about a year or two ago, and it was a pretty convincing story about some guy who was picking up packages at that building.
Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
And I did the research on it. The guy that called was a very fucking convincing story.
Wow.
And yeah, it was, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I've never witnessed it, but at this point, the way I see him going and the things I see him doing and saying, I wouldn't doubt it now, not one bit.
Yes, what we got. Poetry and Prose a la Posada says, how do we explain his outward appearance? What do you make of it? He looks very, very unhealthy.
Man, this man, David, you look bad, bro. I know I've been calling you out on stuff, but seriously, man, you look bad. And I like Alex, I've never seen him looking like this. He was always heavier, you know. He always had the dark circles under his eyes and the yellow fingernails and you know, stuff like that. But what he's morphing into now, I man, the only way I can really, or only thing I can really make of it is just from what I've seen from experience. Uh, you know, seeing people who have been possessed by demons. Those demons begin to transform people's physical manifestations, you know, and that's the only thing I can make out of it, because it's not always on his face like that. You know, he looks bad regardless now, but certain looks is not always on his face. Like Alex, that graphic you had with his hair and the nails and the eyes, man, that thing was so accurate. That's what made it so funny, because something is wrong with him. You know, I don't care if he never admits it, but something is wrong with him. And he don't like to go to the doc, or he didn't like to go to the doctor, at least back then. Um,
I want to give a big shout
and I'm
out to
talking,
the homie Nate Parrish for making that graphic too, by the way.
oh yeah, shout out Nate.
Yeah, Nate Parrish.
Man, I laughed at that thing for about 2 weeks straight, man. But you know, David, he don't like to go to the doctor. There was several times I went to the doctor. One of the other armor bearers who was with him went to the doctor for him. He, you know, like David might have been feeling a certain way, and you know, he had me go to the doctor and explain what it is that he was feeling to the doctor, and say that it was me feeling it, so that he can get some type of prescription. like stuff, like crazy stuff like that,
So
man.
so hold
You
up,
know,
hold up. Did he ever get prescriptions that way
yeah, he did.
with other people?
That I don't know. I don't know if he did or not. One other person he did, but yeah, that one other person he did. But yeah, man, he was good for that stuff, man. Like he will not go to the doctor, even though he needs to. And because I remember I'm thinking to myself, like, they, what if they test me and see ain't nothing wrong with me, And so, you know, luckily for David at the time they didn't, and they wound up writing a prescription, and it was like an antibiotic. I haven't seen him take any narcotics, but it was like some type of antibiotic or something, and it was just like, man, looking back, I'm just like, man, I was twisted, man, doing this stuff for this guy, but I'm able to talk about it now, because he wants everybody to believe that he's so important and he's so busy. You know, he can't take this call. He can't do this. He can't do that. Uh, Let them know I'm in a meeting and he's laid up in the bed eating a Big Mac, or he's watching something with some woman laid up in the bed, but he's in a meeting, you know. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you, man. And,
Yeah, that's dirty. Somebody
the,
said
the pe-
he's laying up with all these women. It's like, dude, that's dirty. It's like he could like,
Fuck. Yeah, he's filthy, man, and he's real filthy because, uh, like Michelle, she be laid up with him too, and always has been since she came like 2013, maybe 2012, somewhere around there. Um, she they've been in a relationship ever since she got there, and uh, in a twisted way, I believe he loves Michelle because she's just as twisted as him, and and she knows about these women, and it had got to a point where David no longer even tried to hide it from Michelle. He was telling her, uh, like we were out in Florida in 2017 when he got this fake presidential award from from
we know what you're talking
from
about.
President Obama.
We know what you're talking about, bro.
Yeah, man. I was so embarrassed. I'm like, man, this is what you've been talking about, man. Yeah, the fake presidential award. And while we was down in Florida, you know, of course, you're gonna have a lot of beautiful women anywhere you got nice weather. And there was beautiful women down there, and me being a married man, he would always ask me, Cliff, look at her. What you think about her? And if I didn't say something like, oh man, she, woo woo woo, or he would say, you're religious. Oh, you too religious. You too uptight. You know, I can't have religious people around me because you can't even be honest about how a woman look. That type of thing. And so what he does, he coerces you into sinning with him, so that when you sin with him, if you ever say something about his sin, he'll bring yours up. And so a lot of people are trapped like that because they don't want him to air them out. But I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I can care less about what anybody who don't know me think about me, about some past things that I've done, David. So it ain't nothing you can say about me. You a liar anyway. Because one thing that he did do, man, he was trying to talk to somebody in my family through the Facebook inbox, but he didn't know that they was my family. And so I just blocked them. I told them, don't even mess with this guy. And then somebody else that I know, he messaged them, a married woman, and she asked me, she said, is it, she sent me a screenshot and said, is this really David? I said, no, that ain't him. It was really him though. But he was trying to talk to her, and but these people were close to me, so they brought it to my attention. And one of them, you know, didn't really bite the bait. Well, neither one of them did, but you know, the one who was asking, was this really David? She didn't bite the bait. And so, um, you know, going through Facebook, he was saying like mutual friends, and he saw we was mutual friends. And so he had Michelle call her, you know, get her information and call her. And, you know, the Lord, quote unquote, put something on David's heart that you know, they needed to speak with her about. And so they start asking her about me. You know, was me and her messing around and all these types of things. And she's like, what? Like, no, what are you talking about? He's a married man, I'm married, and you know, so forth. And you know, Michelle, she's trying to hound her, like, are you lying? Because if you're lying, David's a true man, apostle is a true man of God. And if you're lying, you could be in trouble with God, you know, all that stupid crap they be saying. And and she like, no, what are you talking about? And then that didn't work as far as manipulation. So she said, okay, Cliff has HIV. Did you know that? You know, and so she's like, well, I didn't know that, but if that's true, that's between him and his wife. And I don't think you should be telling me that, you know. And so they go to them lengths and those extents to try to make people not love you, not want you, not want to be around you. And you know, that way you're just isolated to the cult. Because let's just say I was talking to this woman. Let's just say I was messing around with this woman. As a grown man, that's my business. That's my now ex-wife's business, and that's the Most High's business. What does that got to do with David and Michelle? Absolutely nothing. But they don't allow nobody in that cult to have a relationship. He specifically teaches against it. He says you cannot mess with anybody here. No man can mess with no woman. No woman can mess with no man. And then he says, if you are gonna mess with somebody, it gotta be somebody from the outside. Number one, he know most people from the outside ain't gonna put up with nobody who is totally living for David. And then number three, he knows that how they gonna get on the outside? They can't go anywhere. They're on lockdown. You know, like I have my youngest daughter with me, and you know she's been living with me for 2 years now, going on 2 years. And you know my ex-wife hasn't seen her since. And when I went and got her, I was supposed to get my other children as well, my other two children from with my ex-wife at the cult. And I flew out to St. Louis to get them. And when I get there, she didn't have my other children. And I said, where they at? She said, oh, they said they didn't want to come. You know, all of a sudden. And they, you know, have been, I'm talking about for 4 months straight. It's all they have been talking about. Coming to live with daddy, coming to live with daddy. And then when I get there, my ex says, yeah, they said they don't want to come all of a sudden. And I knew she was lying. And so all this time, you know, I've told her, I said, hey, I want to come get my children. She would say, no, no, you can't. No, you can't. Then she would say, then I say, all right, I'm not even going to pick them up. I just want to see my children. Nope, nope, no, you can't. No, you can't. And, you know, for the past couple years or so, a few years, I had some physical issues going on where I couldn't travel. So, you know, I wasn't pressing the issue that much then. But once I, you know, got healthy again, you know, this is what I've been working on. And so he isolates everybody there. You know, nobody has a chance to do anything. The women who he messes with, he likes to get uh, naked pictures and videos of them, so that if he, you know, if they say something, he threatens them and he says, "I'll expose these pictures." Um, I don't believe he's stupid enough to expose them to the whole world because he know he'll go to jail for it. But he has exposed them to me. He's exposed them to other men behind closed doors. Uh, he's exposed some of these pictures to uh, Michelle. I'm not sure if he exposes to some of the other women, but he's shown these naked pictures of these women that he gets to send him these pictures. He's shown them to me, and you know,
So he's actually using sexual blackmail.
oh, definitely, definitely, definitely. And so, those women who he's done that with, like I said, I don't think he's stupid enough to really put them on the internet or nothing like that,
You know what
because
sexual
that can
blackmail
easily.
you know what sexual blackmail does to somebody? It's a real thing and people do it. Scammers do it and it's a real thing. And people, yeah, it's called revenge porn and people have, yeah, gone to the end over it, dude. Real stuff.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that, bro. And that's why I want to speak out about it, because a
Good
lot
point.
of the women who may have been, I may have driven you around and we may have met, and I've told you, you know, David was pretty much the best thing since sliced bread. I'm sorry that I lied to you. I'm sorry that when some of you caught on and was figuring David out and realizing, like, hey, wait a second. I think that other women on Facebook, I think y'all got something going on. And he was saying, oh, no, that's not true. Ask Cliff. Cliff knows what I do. And then I would cover for him. I'm sorry that I lied to you. Um, I seen some of y'all bawling y'all eyes out right in front of me. And I stood there like I didn't know anything. I'm sorry that I lied to you. Uh, you you weren't wrong. You were not crazy. David was messing with women ABC and XYZ. And some of those women that some of y'all had named specifically, you were right on. You were right. While I was driving them cars, I'm sitting in that front seat thinking to myself, wow, she caught him. But he always wiggled his way out, and a lot of times he used me to do it. And for some of you ladies, I know some of y'all left y'all husbands for David. I'm sorry to you. Some of y'all left your hometowns, left your families, and uh, you you treated your family like enemies because you believed this dream that David has sold you, and I helped him to sell it. I'm sorry to you. You know, he definitely got a problem with sex. You know, I don't knock him for that in of itself, because a lot of people have that. It's a real thing. But I do knock him because he act like he don't have the problem and he continue to hurt people, and he's wrong for that. And so, you ladies that are still there and still having sex with him, and he might be inboxing you right now and you've never had sex with him, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, because
Just don't do it.
he just do not do it, because he don't use protection. Don't do it. And and then he has the audacity, because Michelle was having sex with one of the guys on staff, and my brother, get away from there, man. Get away from there. Don't waste your life away with David. But he was having a sexual relationship with her, and you know, at that time when David found out, he asked me, and I asked surprised, but I knew all along what was going on. It was very obvious to the people who lived in that house. I didn't live there, but my wife and children were living there at that time, because like I said, I was spending most of my time with David, and so I would go see my wife and children and things, and uh, so when I would just go over there by myself, everybody, nobody's on eggshells, everybody laid back, relaxed, just being human, because David ain't around, and uh, so I was able to put two and two together with Michelle and that young man, and so maybe like a year and a half, 2 years had went by this thing going on before it really blew up. And so David asked me, and I said, "No, man, I wouldn't have known. I had no idea." But David was so heartbroken, the way he tried to make it seem. But it was just his pride was killed. That how could Michelle, who she's having sex with David, how could she have sex with somebody else, especially it being a younger man who ain't got nothing, who submitted to David? This how David thinks. He thinks if you don't have anything uh, material or any type of money, he think he better than you. Although he will say material means nothing. I'm telling you what he really thinks. And so he was more blown away, like she had the audacity to mess with somebody here in the ministry, and especially somebody who don't have nothing. When David, he buys her this, he buys her that, he gives her a salary, or at least that's what he was telling us. I don't know if he gave her a salary or not, but he was just like so upset at this young man. He kicked him out of the position that he had, and it was a bad thing, man. The way David treated them, him and Michelle. Like he was faultless in any of this himself, but uh, it's rules for thee, not for me when it comes to David. He can have sex with whoever, do whatever, talk however, but if somebody else does it, they're a sinner. They better repent. Don't be doing this foolishness in God's ministry, is what he say. But if
Does
they're following their spiritual father, what are you mad about?
does he have a specific taste in women, or will he sleep with?
Um, he, I wouldn't say it's a just one certain type, but he does have a type. I've never seen him with overweight women. Not to say he won't he won't screw one. He may do that too, but as far as the whining and dining, he won't do that. He's too much about his image. If anybody's gonna be fat and overweight, it's gonna be him. He's not gonna have a woman looking like that. Another weird thing, man, that you know people can judge for themselves, but he likes women with hairy legs. He loves for women to not shave their legs. I don't know what it is about that. And as a man who has hairy legs, I don't want my woman being hairy, And so um, that's one thing that you see with him, and that's one way that he's messing with a certain woman that's around, and she got hairy legs because most women, not all women, but most women shave their legs.
Yeah.
And there was women who I know for a fact was shaving their legs when when they first came, but then all of a sudden, after a certain time, and you know, uh, they started growing their leg hair out. And so when I started seeing that pattern, I'm telling you, man, I will go to Facebook. Once I started seeing women starting growing hairy legs, I would go to Facebook, and sure enough, I saw him in there inboxing them. That's how I knew he was messing with them, because they start growing they leg hair out, man. The weird fetish he got. Weird.
Yeah, that's a weird fetish. Yeah.
Blonde hair women,
He's like, show me them hairy
blonde hair.
legs.
Reminds me of Bubba in jail.
I have a
That's what
tough
he's telling them.
I have a tough question here. Is it possible that he could possibly be sleeping with your ex?
I'm sorry. The call broke up.
Is it possible that David could be sleeping with your ex? Sorry, that's a tough question. It was
Oh no, no.
okay.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
been through the pain and the trauma of
Okay.
everything, man.
Okay, cool, man.
Uh,
Cool, cool.
yeah, very very tough possibility.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Never know.
for the sake of uh, you know, I don't know any women besides women who have already given themselves up to a man, to another man, that would uh, stand up for another man who is not their husband.
Yeah.
You know, it's, it's just kind of strange. And um, there was a woman who came to the ministry that was a good friend, actually the best friend of my ex-wife
Hmm.
back then. She had came to the ministry in January of 2010. Uh, my ex had been sharing with her about the different things in the cult, which were all lies. And so she mustered up the courage and she left Cleveland and came to St. Louis too. And uh, one night I left from Victory Way Lane. David had me go to pick her up from the apartment that she was staying at. And and I'm talking about the new member who had came,
Hmm.
my ex's friend.
Yeah.
And so I went and picked her up. Uh, he had me to drop her off over a Victory Way Lane, and he told me, you know, go spend some time with my wife and children. Cool, I ain't think none of it. And at this time, I didn't know for sure that David was having sex with nobody. And so I legit thought at that time he was really about to help her and minister to her, that type of thing. Still naive and young. And I went and picked her up a little while later, dropped her back off, and that was that. So she David put her out the ministry. Like she wasn't one of those who really submitted like that. And so anybody who don't submit is a problem for David. So she was the one who broke it to me after she had went back to Cleveland and everything. She was like, I gotta tell you something, I cannot, but you cannot say anything. And I'm like, okay, I ain't gonna say nothing. So she told me that she had sex with David that night that I took her over there. And from that point forward, I knew what was going on behind closed doors. And um, so there was an occasion with my ex. Like I said, it was still fresh when I was there. Um, Maybe it was less than a year that I had been there, and I was I was in Detroit with David, and he all of a sudden, had a meeting that he had to be to in St. Louis. Um, and then when he had to go to this so-called meeting in St. Louis, he said he needed me to stay in Detroit to handle, you know, XYZ or whatever. So I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. And so, I kind of felt good about it because, like I said, that was like my first time doing something when he left from out of town that he had given me to do. And so, I was looking forward to that. And so like I said, nobody was there in St. Louis at that time. All the old staff had already left, so it was just us and maybe three other people at that time, and I was the only man. And so one of the young ladies who was on his previous staff, who was still there, she called me one night, uh, or the night that David left Detroit to go to St. Louis, and so um, she was like, "Hey, brother Cliff, how you doing?" I said, "I'm good. What's going on?" And she said, "Nothing much." She was like, I wanted to ask you, are you doing okay?" I said, "Yeah." And I thought she was asking because this was my first time, pretty much my first assignment that I needed to do. And I said, "Yeah, I'm good." And then she was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm just asking because I don't want anything to rise up in your heart, you know, um, knowing that your wife is over there doing some things for David." And I said, "No, I don't, I don't mind." Now I just said that, out of my mouth, but in my mind, I'm like, "What you mean she over there, with David? This late at night." And so time went on, um, way past this incident, maybe a year and a half later. That's when I realized that David was also having sex with the woman who called me and asked me that. So it wasn't that she was only concerned with how I was feeling. She was feeling some type of way because my ex was over there with David, and you know what I'm saying, by herself. And so um, from that moment forward, I'm like, okay, yeah, something ain't right. But and I'm straightforward. I asked my wife about it, and she denied it. But something just wasn't right. But there was nothing that I could pin. There was
Yeah.
no way that I could pin it. But David did. He did say something. Maybe a few months after. It was just me and him. We were at the condo in Detroit, and and he said he called me to his room, and I went in there and I said, yeah. He said, I had a dream this morning, and the Lord told me that you and your wife are going to betray this ministry one day. And then, when he said that, it struck, like a sadness and a fear in my heart, because that's not something I want to do. And he said, yeah, something happened, and your wife said that me and her had sex, and you all betrayed the ministry after that. And when she said that, you believed her. And then I said, oh, okay. And then I said, well, because you're telling me now, I know that when that time comes, or if it comes, I'll know that it was a lie. And he said, okay, yeah, that's good, son. But like I said, I played stupid for David all the time. I kind of felt like that was him trying to groom me, just in case my ex really did come out and say something one day,
Yep.
so that way I wouldn't never believe her, but I'll believe his words.
Yep.
And so he does that a lot with things.
Well, I had a question earlier. What was
Hmm.
the whole deal with being mentioned on the tax returns during the deposition? What was that whole get down? Can you kind of explain that to the chat, to the group, to the world? What was going on with that? Because that's one of the biggest questions. Like, how the fuck does somebody not know who's on their own tax returns?
Yeah, man, he's just a liar.
Okay.
Um, he knew exactly who we were. Uh,
What was he trying to do with that?
uh See, the way I remember it, and the reason why I agreed to it was because, and that's how I know he knew, because he asked us if he could carry us on his taxes. And so, that was that first year we were staying there, and we weren't even really living with him like that. But I thought, all right, maybe he's gonna get some money back or something. I don't know. And if he did, he's gonna give us some money. That never happened. And so I told my wife, I said, never again. I said, don't ever put our information on none of this crap. And
Did he
we
actually
never did.
did he actually pull an exemption off of you guys that year?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, he put our information down. Um, he asked, my wife, you know, what our information was and whatnot. I remember all that. Me, my wife, and my daughter. And he tries to act like he did all this stuff. He did nothing. We slept on a couch in a small apartment. You know what I'm saying? And that was it. Uh, and he tries to make it seem like he's doing a favor for you by doing that. But I'm like, bro, I'm 23, 24 years old. Cut me a check and I'll feed my own family. I don't need you to feed me. I don't need you to house me, you know, because he don't want you to go out and work nowhere. He don't want you to get a job. And
Why? Is that just to keep you kind of like broke and how do you say he
dependent upon him.
yes, yes, sorry. I couldn't find the word. Thank you.
Y- Yep, that's exactly what he want, man. He don't want you to have anything for yourself.
Okay.
Because if you have something for yourself, then at a certain point, if you can leave, you're gonna leave. But if you have no money, if you have no car, if you've stepped away from your family in your hometown, like I did, for example, you feel like those bridges are burnt, and you have those thoughts, even though, like I mentioned earlier, my family never stopped loving me, but I
God,
felt like those
that's
bridges were burnt, man.
so
And
important,
so it's
man.
like,
That your family like
uh-huh.
still like God, the love of the family unit, dude.
I'm telling you, man, it's so
It's powerful,
therapeutic. Yes, yes.
man. And
And
what
so
was
like,
your? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh yeah, and I was gonna say, like, he'll tell some people to go and get a job, but this is the crazy part, man. When when he tell you to go and get a job, it's almost like he feels like it's a punishment for you to go and work somewhere. You I'm gonna put you out of God's ministry, and you're gonna have to figure things out. Yeah, like every other adult, you idiot. That's what we're supposed to do. But he makes it seem like he's doing you a favor by having you slave for him. And so me and some of the other people, when we had to go and get jobs and things like that, man, it's so sad. We had to act like we hated that job, man. But that was the best time of the day when we was away from that cult, you know. And then sometimes we was like, man, hey y'all gonna have to get out because I'm about to give away the secret. But we act like we had to work some days, and man, we going to the movies, doing all type of stuff we didn't get a chance to do as regular people.
It was
You know what I'm saying? And
that
so
much control. So you guys that okay.
yeah, like we was little kids cutting school or something, man. It was bad, man. It was bad.
Full on control. He didn't want you guys
Yeah,
thinking. It's almost like he wanted you deaf, dumb, and blind kind of deal, right?
that's it. That's
So you
exactly what he
couldn't see,
wants.
hear, do know what he was up to, and he could just run.
Yes, that's exactly what that chump wants, man.
It just sounds
He don't. He.
Cregan. It sounds a lot. Cregan. It sounds a lot like our government, bro. I don't want to say it sounds like the
Yeah.
Democratic or Republican Party, dude. It sounds like the government in general.
Oh, in general.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, you absolutely right, man.
And then the deposition. What happened after
Uh-huh.
that? Did David get more bold, or did his behavior kick back?
Um, he got bolder because and he uses scripture, because of course we had hella staff meetings after that. We
Really?
had to we had to be on Facebook day and night because he didn't want anybody posting on his pages that was exposing his fraud. And so we had to be up, I'm talking about middle of the night, Michelle or David, or they might have somebody else on the staff call and text me, hey, get up, get on the apostles page and erase that comment. Have you seen that comment? It's 3 in the morning. I can care less what they're talking about. I don't care what they're saying about David. You know, it because I always felt like this. David is telling us that everything they're saying is false. So I always felt like if it's really false, then just let it be. There's no explaining away. There's nothing to break down to nobody. If somebody uh is lying on me, I really don't care to speak on it. You know, I might give my side of things, and then you'll never hear me speak on it again. But David still talk about the deposition to this day because he knew he was lying. And and let me tell y'all, he always talking about it was spliced and diced. You can watch the full thing straight through. They didn't cut anything. They didn't edit anything to make it look like he was saying something. What you heard him say, he actually said. I guess they spliced and diced his face on there too to make those evil expressions, full of pride and arrogance, thinking that he's above the law. And that's the real thing, Alex. He think he's above the law. You see how he gets up there and talks about the police and the judge and all of that stuff that never even happened. And his people just blindly follow. knowing that woman who was a judge was not demoted, was not in any type of trouble, but she was elevated, but the staff, either, the ones who are already committed to David, they don't care about the truth. But the ones of you who don't know, that stuff is not true. What David talk about, the police uh, and the judge and these lawyers and the FBI is with him. And man, none of these people know this guy. I'm telling you, nobody knows David. He was prophesying to the president and to the United States government, and he tried to warn them about 9/11. David is a liar. Who was he prophesying to in the government? Who heard these dreams that he supposedly had, that he say they contacted him about? Nobody. None of the stuff he say is true. It don't check out. He stopped the North and South Korean War. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
On
Man,
average,
stop.
how much sleep do his followers get?
Uh, I don't know about now, but during those years that I was there, uh, you're good if you get 4 hours. You're good if you get 4 hours, and um, he keeps your mind. Like that's the thing, man. If you don't adapt to that lack of sleep, then it's so easy to manipulate your mind. You know, um, but what I was doing, like when he was out of town and I had to stay at the mansion and stuff, he wanted me to cut the grass. He wanted me to do this and do all that, stuff he could have paid for, you know, but he will not pay professionals to do anything because he's cheap. He's frugal in that way. He's cheap. He don't want things done right. He want to cut corners and then yell at people when they're not done right because they're not professionals. Get out of there, Tony, and get out of there, Devereaux. And so, he does those types of things. And like I said, when I was in in the mansion while he was out of town, man, I'm talking about I'll be catching up on sleep. I'm catching up on my episodes of The Walking Dead. Everything I had DVR while David was there. Man, I kicked back, man. And I really believe that helped keep some of my sanity because I was there to be alone while the other people, they all lived in a house together,
That's another
and
question. Is there a house for the men and the women? Is he separating the sexes?
uh I've heard that there is now, but back then there wasn't. The men and the women were in the same houses or in the same house because they didn't have multiple houses back then. Um, the men slept in the basement, the women were upstairs. Uh, but I've heard that the men and the women are separated now. But like I said, I never witnessed the separation myself,
Yeah.
but that's what I heard they have or
Okay.
had.
What was your final breaking point for this man?
Um, my final breaking point, man, was that I realized there is no getting through to David. You know, it don't matter how much truth you have. It don't matter what you present to him. If it ain't his way, then it ain't no way. And as a father, and just as a man in general, I can't allow somebody to dictate my life like that. And I know he a fraud. It was long enough that I brushed things under the rug. It was long enough that I kept quiet. And so even after I left, this is my first time ever speaking out about it, about any of this. And so, um, when I realized, all the dreams and all the stuff that he said was going to happen, and he kept moving the goalposts. Like uh, me and my wife, we never had a chance to celebrate our marriage anniversary except for the first 2 years, because after that, the annual cancer crusade would always come. And so, it was an amass of many things that had came up that caused me to say, I'm not dealing with it no more. And I remember praying, and I remember telling the Most High, I said, if this is of you, what David is doing, I need you to make it plain to me. He says, you're appearing to people all the time here. I'm not trying to rebel, but I just need the truth. Tell me the truth. And he started showing me the truth, and he put it on my heart. And that was when, I knew it was time to get out of there. And it took 4 years from 2018 to last year in 2022. It took 4 years for me to decompress and to detox from all that crap that was in me, put in me in that cult. And this past year, um, you know, the Most High has been strengthening me, and He's given me, not only the courage, but the strength to talk about what's going on. And He's given me the wisdom on what exactly it is that David is doing, how he's operating it, as far as for the staff, how he's manipulating their minds. And it's one of those things, man, where um, if you've never been in it, you'll never understand it. But I can say this: out of all the stuff that I've been through, I would do it all over again to be able to help the people who are still stuck. I'll do it all over again because I know that you can come out of it. Not only come out of it, but I know he's been lying to y'all, probably telling y'all I'm on drugs. I'm gonna go to jail. Cause that's what he liked to say. He said that God told him in a dream that I'm gonna go back to jail and I'm gonna be murdered in prison. But guess what, Alex? I ain't been in prison. So how can I go back?
Not only that,
But guess what?
David doesn't possess that power.
He don't have it. He don't have it. And I tested him with that because I told David a slew of things that wasn't true. And I was always testing him. He never knew it, but he would take that information I gave him and he would always come out. I had a dream about ABC XYZ. And I'm thinking, how are you having a dream about it and having an interpretation for it when it's not even real? That's when I knew for myself that this was enough. He's speaking on things and prophesying about things that ain't even in existence, but he thinks they are. And so when I realized, okay, this Jesus that he's saying is appearing to him hasn't appeared to him yet, and told him that I didn't tell him the truth and that he's just making something up, that's when I knew it was all fake, man. And I said, enough. I got to get out of here. And it was hard for me to leave my children being there, but I knew as long as I was there, I would be too weak to be able to do anything for them.
So you got out,
Yep.
and it took you 5 years. Took you
5 years, bro.
5 years to 5 years from the time you got out. So you got out in 2018, and you're just now talking about it.
Yep. All these years. And just real quick, David called a few not too long ago, and he had my ex-wife text me saying that she needed to talk to me about the children. So that's how we got on the phone. And I said, what's up? What's going on? Because she tried to do it the night before. But, I felt like, she don't never just call me out the blue. What's going on? Um, so I got off the phone with her because she told me to hold on. She clicked over. But then she did it again the next day. And I had a feeling David would get on the phone, and he did. And as me and my ex were talking, David, he clicks in, and he says, hello, Cliff, how's it going? And I said, yeah. And he says, yeah, man, your ex, she's told me some things that you've been saying, calling us a cult and things like that, and just wanted to talk to you, and so basically, so I would be quiet, and so he said, why are you saying? I said, you don't have the fruit of anything that you say, man. I said, you don't possess that power that you say. You don't have those miracles. You don't do anything that you talk about. And and then he goes into the story about some man, I guess, who used to be on his staff in St. Louis back in the 90s. Uh, David said this guy came against him way back when, and he told him that the Most High was going to judge him for coming against him. So I guess like 2 years ago, like 26 years later, David said, 26 years later, this man and his wife get into it, and his wife murders him. And so she did that to him, and uh, David took credit saying that that happened because he told him that the Most High was going to judge him. And so he's telling me all this story, and I told him, I said, "Yeah, I've heard this before. You told me this before." Oh, I did. I said, "Yeah. What about it?" And yeah, I'm just saying, don't you shouldn't be saying these things because God isn't pleased. And so I told him, I said, ain't none of this stuff real, man. You not Moses. You ain't none of that. I said, even if there was a Moses in this generation, you ain't it. You don't have the character or the quality. And so he tried to start over talking me. I let him talk and talk and talk, but he tried to start over talking me. And I told him one time, I said, if you're not gonna talk, if we're not gonna talk back and forth, I'm gonna get off the phone with you because you're not gonna overtalk me. And he said, huh? What? Like he was taken back that I said something like that to him. And then I told him again. And then I started speaking. And then he tried to overtalk me again. And so I just hung up. And then maybe 30 minutes later, he has my ex text me, you know, some long message. I ain't even read it because I already knew what time it was. Trying to curse me. And uh uh David said if you hung up on him, then God is going to judge you. And so at that point, I knew he wasn't changing, and I was done trying to help David at that point. And that was, just a few weeks ago. And so, here we are, man. Like I said, I'm gonna be going to get my children soon from down there. And
So your kids are actually down at
I'm,
the hotel in Houston.
yeah, they're still in the cult,
Oh
man.
shit.
They're still in the cult.
Yeah, we don't like that. We don't like that.
Oh yeah,
We really
yeah,
don't.
not at all. And yeah, because it ain't just my children either. It's other children there too.
Yeah,
And
we don't
if
like that.
any other fathers are listening, because I don't think none of the men there
How about
have their
parents?
children with them.
Parents. If there's parents listening,
Uh, oh
mothers,
yeah, man.
mothers or fathers.
Yeah, the parents. If your child is there in that cult, contact your local authorities. Contact the authorities down there in Houston. Uh, contact uh, these people that Alex has info for. You know, because I'm telling you, and I'm sure you already know, but I'm confirming to you, your children are in a cult. They're being groomed in a cult. And, you know, I know it's been a long time coming, but the light is here. It ain't at the end of the tunnel, it's here now. And there's a way to get your children out of there. And so um, reach out to this channel that we're on so that we can get things going so that you can get your children back, because it's very important. You know, I know that the children are being indoctrinated. I know that my ex is torn because she know what she's doing is wrong. But, we've had certain discussions. She knows she's wrong, but they revert back to the brainwashing. And so don't lose hope. You can get your children. I'm praying for you. And, if there's any way that I can help, I will be here to assist. I know Alex, he's here to assist. because, it ain't a one man thing. It's a collective movement. And, David ain't the only one. If somebody's listening and your family is in a different cult, we going to get them too. This is a thing that's happening all over the world. We're going to tear these things down with the power of the Most High. And so don't lose hope. This is the beginning of what you've been waiting for all this time.
You guys got anything else for Clifton before we wrap it up here? It's going on 11 o'clock here, my time, 11 Central. We're going on a 3-hour interview, which has been absolutely just a privilege to hear you.
It's been an honor, man.
And to hear your stories, to hear what David does, like how he tears apart families.
Yes.
We're not okay with this, David.
Not at all. And you can gas the staff up and talk and say, ain't nothing going to happen to you. Don't lie to him. And y'all don't believe his lies. Something is going to happen. Whether he believe it or not, this thing is coming to an end because he can't keep destroying people's lives. And this ain't even about him sleeping with women. This is in general, how he treats people in general, on top of the things that he's done to specifically women. And I want to put this out there too, for all the lies that he put out about Alex and a lot of the people who follow this channel here on YouTube. They are not racist. That's one of David's go-to. He loves to call anybody that's Caucasian a racist who says something against him. He's a liar. Don't don't drink the Kool-Aid. That's the best way to put it. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, because he's gonna lie about everybody who say something against him, including myself. And so, if there's anybody else, which I know there's many, who have been traumatized by this chump of a man and traumatized by this cult, reach out to Alex, and he can get you in the right direction, to talk to the people that you need to talk to, because I know it's hard. It took me 5 years. I was there for 10. It took me half of the time that I was there to get back standing on my own 2 feet and be detoxed of his lies. And so if you are still struggling with those things that you've gone through, please don't isolate yourself and beat yourself up. You're not the only one. And if you was around during the time I was there, I know you know me. I'm, like I said, I have nothing to gain from this. And you knew how I was sold out to David at one point. And so if I could overcome it, believe me, my friend, you can too.
Well, Clifton, I hope we can have you on again for some more Q&A sometime, when you start
Yeah.
refreshing your memory some more. And I'm going to put you in touch with some really good people to talk to, and that are actually in your area in California.
Okay.
And
Got you.
I think this could yeah, definitely.
Awesome, man. I'm I'm honored and I'm privileged, man, to be able to speak with you, man. And you're doing a great work, Alex. You're doing a great work. I've seen many uh come out over the years and try to expose this thing that's going on with this cult. But the majority, well, yeah, just about the majority of them have failed because they don't stick to the facts. And that's what I love about you, man. You stick to the facts. And it's the facts that David can't wiggle away from. And that's what piqued my interest, was that the things you were saying, I knew you had talked to somebody who had real insight, and you were able to gather the proper information. And that's what's made this whole thing effective. And so, man,
It was
I
listening to
personally want to say thank you, man.
people like you, ex-cult members, not just from this cult, but from other cults. All of us.
Yes.
There's other people in this chat that are from other cults, dude.
Wow.
And they all tie into, we've all listened to their stories. Some of them here who haven't shared them publicly, like you.
Wow.
Yeah, we're glad you're out, dude. We're glad you're out sharing the story because honestly, you know what? You're doing a public service now at this point. You are.
I'm humbled, man.
You are,
I'm
Cliff,
humbled.
not us. You are tonight by sharing your story with the rest of the world because this isn't, dude, we're on YouTube, bro. This is the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
David's going to go down.
Wow. Oh, yeah, yes. That's the message, David. You're going down.
Mm-hmm. Yep. David's going to go down, you guys. And it's going to be people with like Clifton's voice that get the ball rolling, that plant that proverbial seed. Right?
Yes.
David's always talking
That's
about
right.
planting seeds, right? Well, guess what, David? We just planted a big seed tonight.
Yeah, you did. It's sprouting now.
Yeah. But Cliff, again, I hope we can have you on again sometime, man. Want some more Q&A when you're ready. But like I said, let's go ahead and wrap this up. And you guys, thank you for being here tonight with us. And thank you for listening to Clifton. Thank you for allowing him to express his feelings and his emotions and being respectful to them.
Yes. Thank you all. I love you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
This is real deal. We're talking about religious cults here. Clifton Ware was I'll call it trapped, man. Trapped in his cult for a period of 10 years. And this was his story. This is his story about it. I'm sure there's more to it, and I'm sure a lot more. He's going to start remembering a lot more. And, thank you, dude. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. All praise to the Most High. Thank you, Father.
But you be good, man. You have a good night, Cliff. And
you too, man.
I'll let you go, brother. We'll text after this, okay?
All right. Sounds good, brother. Thank you again.
All right. You be good, Cliff.
Take care.
All right. Good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Pretty hardcore stuff, man. Pretty hardcore stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Love your moms, love your families, and teach your kids about cults, man, because they are here. Like you said, they're right here in America, man. They're right here in America. They don't give a shit. They'll fucking come in and destroy the shit out of your family without thinking twice about it. Without thinking twice. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. Hear how Cliff said it was? How insanely fast it was? David went to work on his wife right away. Right away. That's pretty shitty, David. David, you are not. You have no business leading any type of church, man. Cliff, that was powerful, dude. That's gonna live forever, man. Everybody here is fucking thinking hard and long tonight. I guarantee you that, dude. I guarantee you that, Cliff. And you know what, Cliff? You're going to sleep good tonight. And you know what? You're going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to walk with your head higher, your chest out more. You're going to feel good tomorrow, Cliff. It's good to let that stuff off, man. And we're here to listen. And we want you to know that. David has zero business getting into anybody's personal life for that matter. Zero business. Zero business. He needs to take care of his own life first, in my opinion. Remember how opinions are around here, right? Everybody's opinion is a lie. Yeah, I'm blown away too, Cliff. We're with you, dude. We're on board 100% with you. We got your back, dude. We got your back, Cliff. You don't even trip, bro. We got your back. Don't even sweat it, bro. There's people here who care, who are listening. Yep. Yep. We are listening, man. We are listening loud and clear, and not just to this cult, to any cult, to any cult survivor out there, not just David's cult. There's numerous, and my dogs are crying at me, telling me, "Hey, Dad, shut the live stream down. It's time to go." So I think it's time for me to go. I'm gonna stop the recording. But yeah, you guys have a safe and happy 4th of July weekend. And again, remember what we just listened here to tonight. Whether you took something away from it or not, you know, I hope you did. I really hope that you guys did. I sure did. So with that being said, man, you guys have a safe and happy 4th of July. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. Remember why we all did this. Remember why we're all here. Right? Remember why we all did this, why we're all in this together. So people like Cliff can come out and talk about his experience. We got you, Cliff. We got you, dude. We'll carry it, man. We got you, brother. We got your back, dude. Don't even sweat it, bro. Be well, be safe. You guys have a safe and happy weekend.